Formagats.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dragon Slayer.
Hey guys, we're Bella Lost Souls, and we are bringing you yet again another Warhammer 40,000 tournament from Dragon Slayer Comic and Games, Comic and Fantasy, Comics and Fantasy,
Yes.
in sunny Austin, Texas. It's sunny right now.
Is it?
It's very sunny. Look at all that sun outside. Do you not see that? Jen doesn't actually go outside.
I don't.
Jen's also from the Pacific Northwest, so I think she just assumes that it's always cloudy outside. She's not used to sun and happy people and things like that,
I hate sunshine.
as you can hear. So we've got another tournament here. Today we are using the 8th edition ITC Champions missions and rules for the tournament. We are playing 2,000 points. It's going to be 3 rounds. And we're here at round 1. So we've got on the top of your screen, we've got Jonas with a big Tyranid army. And on the bottom of your screen, we've got Mike with a Chaos army. It's a bit of a mix, right, Mike? You've got some demons and a little bit.
Attachment and Chaos Marines attachment.
Yeah. So pretty classic chaos mix there, but looks like we had a good amount of troops on both sides. So we're gonna see how this goes. They're in the middle of a setup right now.
Bloodmaster is in the work. He's the
so-
sergeant.
We'll go over their stuff once they're finished setting up there. But yeah, welcome in. As you can see, Chaos has started off with 9 command points, though I think they're already going to spend several in deployment here. And the Nids are going to have 4 command points. And I know our Nid Army's got something like 50 or 60 Hormigons, 50 or 60 Gene Stealers in it, some Warriors, Prime, and a couple of the big things. So we're going to see a pretty cool Nid Army. I don't think we've shown one off at a tournament here. And we actually haven't had a Nid Army on the stream for a while, I think.
We have not.
Yeah, so I mean, we do have a beautiful one that we get out every now and then. That Adam brings in, but he hasn't been able to play for a bit because of he's got to run all the writing stuff. So
Yeah, I have
it's good to see a big Nid Army here, and we've got a nice Chaos Army too. So they're setting up right now, and we're gonna be watching them play today, and then of course we've got 2 more rounds after that. So Jen,
Yes.
who do you think's gonna win today out of these two? Let's have your really expert opinion here. Just
Why
fir-
you gotta throw me under the bus?
first
like
first
that?
impressions.
Let me actually look at what's going on here. Sorry, I've been fiddling with tech. I don't know. Every time I see chaos, they seem to womp the floor with people.
Okay.
So my unexpert opinion would be, I would think maybe chaos would do it. But then
Okay.
again, there's some really insane looking stuff on the Tyranid side over there that is gorgeously painted.
There's
from
some-
where I'm sitting.
There's
so.
there's some
I
pretty
don't know,
crazy
man. I
there's
don't
some
know
pretty
anything
crazy
about
stuff.
those units, so I think I have no idea.
Yeah, we got we got like an Exocrine today, and what's the big tentacle guy?
So we have a Toxocrine,
Toxocrine,
and a
Exocrine,
Tyrannofax.
and a Tyrannofax. Yeah, so we got some
That
tentacle
tentacle
bees.
guy is sick.
Yeah.
looking.
That's the Toxocrine.
I would not want to meet him in a
I
dark
think.
alley.
Well, that's
Oh,
luckily
don't
he's like 30 meters tall, so he doesn't fit in alleys. So
At least I'd see him coming from a long ways away.
yeah, no,
Like,
definitely.
run the other way. Oh.
I like the basing on those too. Kind of like a lava-y basing. It looks like. That's nice.
Broke a couple in transport.
Oh jeez.
Oh no.
And that's the risk of carrying like 300 models with you.
That's fair.
Can't your
I feel like I need to start bringing our like glue and repair set so they can help.
Here you go.
You guys are all on the bottom. Oh, actually, wait, whoops, sorry.
Oh, that's so many Tyranids. There's so many. It's
All
never a
right.
good thing.
So we got some looks like some cultists going down over there. And Mike's hid something on the hill up down in the bottom corner there. There might be some more cultists. I know he's got
Those are
blood letters. All right, so we got blood letters on the left and cultists on the right, it looks like. And then I know we've got some more blood letters and a character and some obliterators hanging out on the warp somewhere.
Hanging out, having their morning cup of joe,
Yeah.
talking about chaos.
So like I feel like the warp is pretty big. No one's gonna get like you're like, oh, I've got like my army in the warp and I've got my army in the warp, and no one's gonna they're never gonna meet each other, right?
That is my eternal question. I really want to know what happens in the warp and the webway.
Right.
Are people hanging out and
So,
talking?
I mean,
Are they just walking by each other like, hey, we're in the warp, this is the neutral zone, so we just kind
Yeah.
of agree to go our separate ways?
So like the warp. That's the thing. The warp is obviously big. No one's like you're somewhere in the warp. It defies space and time. Like the webway, it has pathways through it, right?
Right.
So you assume that like if you're going to a specific battlefield, there's one pathway there. So like, then you're gonna end up with like a bunch of Yanari, a bunch of Dark Eldar, a bunch of Craftworld Eldar, and a bunch of like Thousand Suns all sitting around on the webway.
Just hanging out.
Yeah. I think they
Like,
should totally.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah. Oh.
I thought you were coming through here on Tuesday. This is
Shoot.
Monday. What are you doing?
Well, we're all showing up to the same battle here.
Dennis, I don't think it matters. I've got 3 squads of regular.
I genuinely want some fan fiction written
Mm-hmm.
about what happens when
2
people
are
encounter each other
armed squads and 1
in those
they
spaces.
have
Definitely.
extra
Because I know in
just gives a little
the
extra attack and strength.
Breaking Up Beltan, they
okay.
they talk
These
about
cultists.
the demons being in the webway.
In the webway,
as-
yeah.
Yeah, as if Rain is making her way to Beltan.
Did they ever tone that down?
Did they ever what?
Did they ever nerf Biltan?
Who's gonna have more drops?
I mean, if by nerf you mean.
I mean, I
if
hear
Rain
it was broken.
Shoved a.
What?
All right, and on that note, I'm out. I'll see you guys on Monday.
See, even the Eldar book admits that the Eldar are overpowered, right? They have a whole book about how they're broken
Bikers. And by bikers, I mean.
and why Biel-Tan should be toned down. Toned down.
Train.
Cool.
All right, we got a Tyrannifex, guys.
Strength 10, rupture cannon. As long as it doesn't mean it gets to shoot twice.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a stinger salvo.
Which is what, close combat?
No, it's I think it's like 18 inches.
Okay.
It's like a Soul 6, I think.
And what's the range on his gun?
48 inches. Yeah. So the board.
We got some
It's not a basilisk cannon, but
rupture cannon. Just sounds nasty to me. Like, it just sounds like it's gonna make you have a bad day at the gym. I don't know.
Wait, what?
Rupture cannon.
Why
You
the
know?
gym?
Because I always imagine like you go to the gym and you work out too hard and you rupture something, right?
Oh, all right.
So
I get that.
And there's just
48
like-
inches, heavy 3.
they're just like bits of you falling out at that point.
Ugh, nobody wants that.
Well, no one wants to fight Tyranids. Like Tyranid players,
They're
like
scary and
Tyranid
awful
players,
in the best way.
playing them, but they don't want to fight Tyranids.
Tyranids on Tyranids.
Nah, no one likes that.
That is a battle I would be interested in.
You don't think Balls Twitch viewers want some hot Tyranid on
I think they absolutely are here for that.
They're-
That is what
you
they're
know,
waiting for anxiously right now.
I can guarantee there's a place on the internet you can go for that right now.
Probably somebody's writing Tyranid on Tyranid fanfiction
I
right
mean,
now.
it's called Deviant Art, and I'm sure you can find some Tyranid on Tyranid stuff.
Send us your hot Tyranid on Tyranid action
Don't ask for
links.
that. Don't ask for that.
Okay, you're right. Don't do that. Don't send that to me.
Total mistake.
I'm sure like Japan has us covered already. So,
Probably.
so we got some knights. What are the knights today, Mike?
Those are Chaos Bikers.
Bikers. Okay, sweet.
They come from a place where horses are cool.
Horses
Yes,
are-
horses
which
are
is
amazing.
which is everywhere, I think.
But they're WYSIWYG, so like they're two guys with plasma guns.
Sure.
Rails has chainsaws.
Sweet. And then up on that second floor,
Rapiers.
rapiers. Okay, so those are actually rapiers.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
sweet,
those are laser destroyers.
awesome. We have not seen those before, guys, but those are a pretty cool Forge World model
Yeah,
and
so-
unit.
I'm really excited about seeing that. I mean, I'm obsessed with horses in the real world.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've seen that unit on the table.
So he's got his horsemen and his fencers, right? That's what rapiers do. They got 'em and they fence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're very close range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's
Ooh.
rocking that Dread Pirate Roberts life
Yeah.
right now.
Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Alright, big boy. Swarm Lord.
Ooh, the Swarm Lord has appeared.
Oh, snap. Ooh.
See, I don't know about you folks,
How many
but
wounds is, Swarm
I'm not
Lord?
gonna lie, but Tyranids are like the most complicated army in the world to me.
I can't fathom running an army like that. There's just so much to think about.
There's, and the big thing is, and some of it's changed, but traditionally, like most of their weapons are all their range weapons are based off the strength of the model in a lot of
Okay.
ways. So like in other armies, you're like, oh, he has an auto gun. That's strength 3. And you're
Right.
like, oh, does that Space Marine have an auto gun? It's also strength 3. That's fine. But like you start talking about Tyranids, and they're like, oh, like this guy has like a Devourer and it's strength 8, and this guy has a Devourer and it's strength 3, and I'm like, I don't even care with them. How do I know what any of your stuff is?
And also, from my understanding of Tyranids, most of a Tyranid army has special things that you have to pay attention to, like units that interact with other units in special ways, powers that affect other units.
Yeah, Tyranids
So
definitely.
it's like there's so much to pay attention to.
There's a lot,
at all times.
yeah.
Even if you're just dealing with one unit at a time, you still have to pay attention to so many different elements.
The good thing is, though, if you play Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard, you don't really have to care. You just, no, I'm just gonna kill them all. Like, you just
Okay,
you
just
just
your
you just shoot
defense
whatever's
rate.
closest, and they're all dead. It's all good. Works out 100% of the time. Like
I would say-
70% of the time.
70% nice. Tyranids are definitely not a beginner army, I would think.
I would agree. Well, I mean, I think you could run them as a beginner army. Like if you ran a heavy close, if you ran just a
Not a
bunch of
list like
close
this,
combat
though.
army. No, this is
looks like a very sophisticated.
this is a little
list.
more complicated, definitely.
You know when I started playing Warhammer?
But,
8th edition.
hey, me too.
So this is the.
This is
army
it.
I stuck with.
Yeah.
Damn,
There
you're a
you go.
brave soul.
Gene Steelers.
I feel like now I just have this image of like his list with like a pipe and like reading glasses. I'm a sophisticated list over here.
It's
Aw.
like, it's very sophisticated. It's like I came up with it in my car.
Nice. That's talent. Jeez.
Uh,
Have you played games like 40K before?
Nope.
Wow, so you just decided to pick it up and went right into NIDS.
I mean, that's even more.
Well, I played StarCraft for.
Okay.
There you
cool.
go. Yeah.
There's
And
your
I'm not going to
segue.
start no conversation about StarCraft and
Well,
Warhammer.
we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other can of worms.
But yeah, went with what he knew, and that's impressive. That I mean, so
Yeah.
if you look at it, Jonathan had started, only a few months ago, really, and he's got a whole painted army. So that's
So he's been playing effectively as long as I have, and he's already doing tournaments. What am I doing with
with
my life?
with the painted army.
With a painted army,
and you have like
You painted them all, so geez.
Yeah. Well, other than
What am I doing with
these
my
two,
life?
I had a friend of mine paint my Swarmlord in the.
That's valid.
But everything else.
well, that's okay,
They
Jen.
look good.
You've almost got a painted unit.
Shut up.
You've almost got a painted model.
Why do you gotta throw me under the bus like that? I have many painted models, just not any painted
When you beat
units.
me super badly.
It's gonna be doubly embarrassing for me.
No, you're gonna. Yeah. No.
How long have you been playing?
Many moons.
And also, let us know if us asking you questions is getting in the way of your game flow, because we will if that's the case.
Once you guys get going, we'll be quiet over here and just whisper.
So
into
that's
the
a very
microphone.
interesting balance to consider then. You have a very new player and a very experienced player on the table.
So both of them, I mean, both Khorne, mostly Khorne, it looks like, and NIDS are obviously both going to be pretty heavy close combat. So
Sure.
it's going to be a bloody fight,
Okay.
which is what Khorne wants.
Okay. So you finish dropping first.
We got a really nice arc. If you didn't
What
pay,
is Rule 34?
that's like for anything, any like possible combination. There's point of it basically.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's the if you think
That's
if you thought of
rule-
it,
What is it, Rule 27 for cosplay? If
Probably.
there's any cosplay in the world, there is a opposite gendered cosplay
oh
that someone
yeah
does.
yeah. Rule 34 is like if you've thought of it, there's point of it on the internet basically.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Sparky.
Yeah. It's that nid on nid action.
The world wants it.
I mean, does the world want
I
it?
don't know, but the world's gonna get it apparently.
So they are playing with the fifth deployment, I believe it is. It's the kind of V-shaped one in the book. I forgot the technical
Oh,
term.
okay.
So their centers are 15 inches out, and their flanks can deploy about 6 inches out, which is why you have these slightly echelon formations that you can see them setting up. Their primary objective, they've got 4 objectives. You can kind of make them out.
Rule 63, that's what it is. Thanks, Sparky. You got me. You good with those numbers over there.
With those numbers. Great with the
All
numbers.
right, so here's a question for you, just a random
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
So talking about like Tyranid on Tyranid action,
Mm-hmm.
what in your mind is the best battle for a mirror? Like what armies would you most find an interesting mirror battle from? I know that,
like from a
when we
fluff
had Chris
perspective.
Carlisle and Matt Ali in our studio, that was originally the match that they considered putting
Sure.
together was a mirrored Eldar versus Eldar list, and I believe specifically they're an Ari. So, I mean, from both aspects, from a fluff aspect
Mm-hmm.
and from a mechanics and just like list play, which armies would you like to see fight each other?
So there is some events do run mirror tournaments or
Oh, interesting.
yeah, where everyone has mostly the same list.
Is that common?
It's not common, but because it is kind of boring to some degree because
Okay.
everyone has the same list. But they do consider this, and it's not the most popular, but it's considered to be like the ultimate test of generalship if everyone has the same list. They use
See who just
right.
implements it better.
Traditionally, that's done with Space Marines
Oh,
because they're kind of the midline.
they're
and
like your standard.
They're your standard, and they don't have like the real crazy rules and stuff like that. Most of sometimes the lists are 100% identical. Sometimes they'll say, here's everything in the list, and then you get to pick between like these 3. You get to pick your HQ. Like, here's 3 options for HQ. You can take. They're all the same points. Like, do you
Okay.
want a captain, a librarian, or a chaplain, something like that? And you can pick one of those to be your HQ.
Sure.
So sometimes there's a little bit of variation. Sometimes they're just 100% identical. And the idea behind those tends to be, let's get kind of as a basic of armies as we can with a few cool things, but everything does the same thing. So you're not going to see really, even in those mirror matches, you're not going to see really extreme things like a bunch of crazy, assault armies, something like that. You're going to see, I've got tactical Marines, or now I've got a bunch of Primaris. I've got one unit of this, one unit of that. You tend to see units that are not a high-powered or that don't do well in the meta using those, so that it's really trying to test the capability of a character or of a general. So that's generally how they do mirror match. If you're looking for a mirror match, and those, the idea you want in those is something that really lets the general or the commander show off their power. So you could have some really interesting mirror matches with like Eldar or something like that, but you want to avoid having something that's too powerful of an army for your mirror match, because if you have something that's very Alpha Strike dependent, for instance,
Sure.
on really going to matter about who goes first, and then the mirror match is going to come down to who goes first. So, like 2 glass cannon lists, for instance, is going to make a very poor mirror match, because that's not going to last long enough. Whoever wins the roll to go first is probably going to win that, because
Interesting.
they're dependent on going first. The other army's a glass cannon. Whoever gets that one punch in first is going to win. So you want to try to get more durable lists that are going to really let you develop over again. Jonas, what secondary objectives did you pick real quickly?
I picked Headhunter. It's got like 4 characters in there.
Mm-hmm.
I also picked Behind Enemy Lines and First Strike.
Okay.
I'll eventually kill everything, but
That's the point, right?
yeah, hopefully.
So, guys, if you're not familiar, I'll get to Jen's fluff question in just a second. But if you're not familiar with how these games work, they're using the 8th edition ITC Champions missions. Basically, each scenario that we're playing today is going to have one primary mission or primary objective, and it's kind of a hard one to get today. For instance, there's 4 objectives, and you have to control all 4 of them at the end of your turn to score any points off of that. But then each player from a list of choices is going to pick 3 secondary objectives, and they're going to try to score those throughout the game. Mike? All right, so Jonas is on the first turn. Mike, real quickly, can you let me know what secondary objectives you picked?
Yep, very similar to Jonas, I think. Old School,
Okay.
Kingslayer, and the Reaper,
Okay.
which I don't fear. Alright, you got it?
So Jonas has gone first, and he is getting right in there with a quick advance from his Hormagaunts or Termagants there. And they are moving forward. So yeah. So as I was saying, each player has secondary objectives that they can try to score, and during a turn, during a game, they can score up to 4 points for each of those. And then there's also an end of round scoring.
Also, it doesn't matter, but I spent another command point on the banner for the big dudes, the big squads.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of war gear, but I have to spend it.
I'm actually going to advance.
Okay.
All right.
So this
Hormagaunts.
is Kraken adaptation. So when I advance, I roll 3d6.
It looks like most of his high fleet is all your high fleet Kraken? Yeah, so the whole high fleet is Kraken. He's got all those extra tentacle-y stuff. So while there are those 4 objectives they can score, in addition, at the end of each player turn, they're going to score a point if they hold any objectives, and they're going to score a point if they killed any enemy units during their turn.
At any point you got a question about then just ask.
And then at the end of the battle round, they're going to score to see who has more objectives and who has more units destroyed, plus their bonus objectives. So there's a lot of different scoring that's going to go on. It's a pretty complicated system. Jonas he took Headhunter, which is he gets a point for killing enemy characters. He took Behind Enemy Lines, which is he's going to get points. At the end of his turn, he has 2 or more units within 12 inches of his enemy rear line, basically. And then he took First Strike, which is First Strike. Jonas, when you said First Strike, did you mean you took Old School?
Yes.
Okay, so you took Old School, which gives you a point if you kill an enemy in the first turn, if you kill their warlord, if there's a bunch of objectives. And then Mike also took that Old School objective, so there's 4 different ones that go into that. He took Kingslayer, which is he's trying to kill an enemy character, and then he took Reaper, which is for killing enemy units, 10 or more, or extra points for 20 or more. So he is going to be trying to kill lots of units there. And we've got Jonas, and he's making a real, as you can see, he's being real aggressive on turn 1 with the awesome Tyranids just running forward there around. That is a tower in the center of the board, if you can see. Also, not a well. Looking at it from above, it kind of looks like a well, but it is a pretty tall tower there.
Should go with it. It's the Well of Lost Souls.
Yeah.
We're into that later.
Yep.
Well, you want to be in combat though.
Yeah, well, not with that many guns.
Yeah. So if you hear there, Jonas's troops can advance and charge. So it looks like the Tyranids are going to be in there right now, getting in there. And this is one that I think the mission helped them out a little bit on that, because it does mean that they only started 18 inches instead of 16 inches away from each other. He got a little bit more forward deployment there. And he's going to get in there. So we're going to see how this goes out, but definitely.
As fast as I can, I'm sorry.
No. You're moving along. So he's got a big pack of Gene Stealers that are advancing down on the right of your screen there.
So yeah, so we get points for each objective that we hold.
So at the end of each of your turns, you get a point for one objective. If you have any objectives, you get a 1 if you killed a unit, and at the end of the round, whoever had the most objectives.
Pull those guys.
Do these Gene Stealers?
I think all the guns are over here.
And Mike, how many
I can move that way if you want. Come on.
Mike, how many command points did you spend before the game started?
4 total.
Okay. So Mike spent 4 of his
Oh my
command
God,
points
what
in
was it,
deployment.
3?
So they're down to 4 and 5 command points each, respectively.
This is the second one. Look at that. I broke it on the stream. Look at that. I just bought it.
Oh, the tape measure. I thought you
Oh,
meant,
wow.
I broke it.
How did you even do that?
I have no idea. Thank you.
Must be new player syndrome. I broke one of our studio whippy sticks recently.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jonas might be able to get the at the end of his turn, he might be able to get the primary and get all 4 objectives. He's playing very aggressive.
6. No, that doesn't work like that. I was just like, oh no.
So you've got
Bring
a
a spare now. I'll break mine.
Holy Emperor of Mankind, we will not know who is going to be our second and third broadcasted game until the results of the first round are announced.
I don't think anyone's playing a Custodes army today, though.
Generally for this tournament, they don't allow the new rule set in until the following month's tournament.
Yeah.
So the Custodes would be too new for the new list.
Yeah, I think there might have been 2 new, and I don't know if anyone locally had a full army painted up already. But I do know we have 2 or 3 orc players out there today.
Yep.
In fact, Matt Ali, who's
Who won
been
last month's
who won
tournament.
last month, is running an orc army today. So he's given up Eldar for right now.
Sad times.
Yeah. So we've got a number of Tyranid armies and a number of orc armies out today. So it's a little bit different of a tournament. Yeah, there's no.
So same with the Thousand Suns. The lists are just going to be too new for this tournament.
Yeah.
Probably by next month we'll see something.
I mean, Thousand Suns existed before, so someone might have had a Thousand Sun army, but I don't know of any local, or I know of one local Thousand Sun player, but I don't know if they had much of a list. I do think there is a Magnus out there today, though.
Oh.
But I'm assume he's using the.
Yes, there was somebody who ran Magnus at the last tournament as well. I remember seeing.
Yeah. I assume that they are running Magnus under the old rules, not the new. I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, 1 command point.
Yeah.
Metabolic overdrive. I'm gonna choose.
But yeah, I'd say a decent amount of the players today are Xenos. I know we've got
Yeah, Xenos.
a couple Eldar players, a couple Tyranid players today, and a couple Orc players. So I did not see our Necron player. I know there's at least one local Necron player who comes out. So
Last month? I know he was here at the first one.
I think he was here last month. Yeah.
I should have done it for those
I didn't pull those
guns.
guys. Yeah. Pull those broken guns.
All right. So something happened. Some Gaunts died from something.
Some points were spent, shenanigans happened, you know.
But they are getting to move again. So this is a very, I mean, not surprising. It's a mostly combat Tyranid list, but it is a very aggressive Tyranid first turn.
End of movement phase. Heidi.
All right.
You want to just measure out like 9 inches from here? Sure.
So there is a Hive Tyrant. It is coming down. It looks like it is just at the edge of our screen there on the bottom left. But it just dropped down, supporting
Psychic phase.
those guys. And we're in the Psychic phase now, folks.
Stormlord is going to cast Catalyst on this group of guns right here. So look for 6. I'll make it.
That's a failed Catalyst.
He is going to cast Smite on your horsies.
Oh no, not the horsies.
There it goes. Do you have the deny?
My horses care not.
That's right.
So 1 more wound.
They don't care much.
Thanks to DanWise1 and MWSC Griffin, Rev 725, and Rampant Goat 17 for those follows. Welcome to the Belfry.
Welcome, guys. We appreciate it.
Also, Mr. Malchos. Thank
Yeah.
you guys for those follows. Welcome to the sub fam.
Yeah.
So 3?
Thanks so much for coming in.
Oh.
So, guys, we are, if you're just turning in now, just as a reminder, this is the
But
Dragon's Lair Comic and Fantasy in Austin, Texas. 2,000 point ITC style tournament. We're using the ITC missions here. We are on table 1, round 1, and it is the psychic phase of Jonas, the Nid player there, his first turn. So he's doing a few points, a few mortal wounds here and there on some of Mike's units. We've got Mike playing Chaos on the bottom of your screen, Jonas playing Nids on the top of your Nids. I'm Stable Abe. With us, I've got Mayhem's Views Gen, and we've got Mars here walking around. We're Bella Lost Souls, so we are covering this. We do stream Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday doing 40K games, and then we also do painting streams on Thursday and at other streams as needed. So you can always check us out here throughout the week or on our webpage, bellalostsouls.net. And we're into the shooting phase, it looks like. So Jonas doesn't have a ton of shooting in his list, but he is throwing it at those Chaos Bikers, the horsey bikers.
AP minus 3.
Yep. So 6s. Marry a 1. So guy dies.
How many wounds do they have?
2 each.
2 each.
Oh, are they
Well, they're
multi-damage?
D6. Yeah. So we'll roll it.
Yeah.
All right, so this is not good for those.
That's 2. Another 4. Oh, so 1 survives.
All right, so we lost 3.5 bikers to that shot there. That's pretty gross. That was a good target for that. Now Mike still has some pretty deadly things waiting up in space to come down. So we're just waiting for that. Oh,
They're artillery that shoots a real mean laser.
Okay. We'll shoot the exocrine at the...
So the trick with that
ooh, here's the trick, guys.
rules as written, you can't target the crew. So the crew and the artillery are different units,
Okay.
and all 3 count as different units.
Okay.
So you can target 1, and it's gonna have to be the guns.
Okay.
It won't matter, I mean, your guns, I'm sure a million strength.
So this is 1 unit, the 3
No.
guns?
So this is 1 unit, this is 1 unit,
Okay.
and this is 1 unit.
So I could destroy the gun, but not the guys manning it?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And not that it'll matter probably, but hilariously, if you kill the guys manning it, the gun gets angry and like starts going towards you real slowly. True story. And it can still shoot, but it only hits on a 6.
Okay.
It's called the Demon Unleashed. It's
So,
like-
so can you, like, if I wound that unit, can you pull off the guys manning it before you take
Yep.
off the, okay.
So yeah, so if you shoot the gun, blow up the gun, then I just have 2 guys with bolt pistols hanging out.
Bam.
looking handsome.
So I think I really like that that Mike's bikers are mounted. it makes sense for Khorne a lot because they're always like shouting about blood for the blood god, right? And then after all that shouting, they end up kind of hoarse.
The guns.
Okay.
So we'll do that first.
Wow.
So take on threes.
So makes perfect sense that they'd be bikers there.
Okay, tough 5.
So threes. 2 ones.
Okay.
Anything you want to see?
2. Looking for 5s, because +1,
Yeah.
-3.
Yeah.
When that takes a win.
Or 2 damage.
2 damage, gotcha. Was this one?
Yep.
Cool.
And then we'll do
Second of this one?
Yep.
you said?
Thanks, Banana Andrew. I appreciate it.
Much better.
And then,
Don't encourage him, Banana Andrew. Don't do it.
so 4 that's 4.
All right, so Jonas is trying to take down one of the Reaper laser destroyers there,
So one gun is
Right there.
gone.
and he did take down one.
I can't believe I broke that. I cannot believe
How do
Is
you?
this one of yours?
Oh yeah, low green guys? I never thought I'd see that again.
I like our shot right now. You can see the waves colliding, and there's just tentacles coming out of one
It's just
side. Yeah, do you see that, guys? Like, there's just tentacles
Dang, so he can
out of the side of the screen.
movement.
I really like this.
No,
You
that
see everything in the background.
Yeah.
You see
So it's
everything in
all
the foreground. It's
like
just
that.
insanity
That's a
everywhere you
good.
look.
That's a good like
Instead of
still
shooting,
right there.
you can use
I
Just
was just thinking that. It would look good in one of the
and they can
books.
move it.
yeah, like just this wave of nids coming out of one side.
Okay.
The tentacles just off screen. And those cultists coming out of the brush. Yeah, and there you can see what I was talking about. That tower is pretty big in the center. It's not just a small well like it kind of appears from the overhead shot.
And pull those broken ones off.
Alright.
That'd be pretty nasty though if the big tentacle thing came out of a giant well.
Oh well, yeah.
Charging.
All right, so that was the shooting phase.
These are out.
We got the charges.
We're gonna charge
This is still top of one?
Gaunts.
Yep.
Who's charging what?
So Gaunts are gonna charge here.
Okay.
Gaunts are gonna charge here.
I'll be
G
charged.
will charge here.
Oh.
So we got a lot.
So let's start with these guys. So this is one
That's one
big
unit.
unit. Okay, so that's gonna be everybody. Sweet.
So there is
we'll
a
do these guys first, since you're horses.
Gavest says Slanesh approves this message.
I mean, I
okay,
think yeah.
so
Anytime there's
Common
just
bolters,
tentacles
this squad.
coming out of the side.
One plasma, one not supercharged. So one regular save and one -3 save.
I need you to hit 3. I need you to do
Did what I
one more.
could.
Okay, so he's dead.
So one guy's dead and then
2.
second
Well,
guy's dead.
well, yeah. They have a 6-up save.
Okay.
Alright.
And see if they made it.
Charge.
Yeah, big time.
All right, so one big unit of Gaunts has made it into the horsies, and I don't know if the horses are gonna.
Another one.
Come on, Horsies, you can do it.
I don't think they're gonna be able to do it. We'll see.
So who are you rooting for? Who do you think's gonna take this?
Who am I rooting for? I mean, I'm in the Imperium, so I just like anyone who all the death is good. I'm like
That's fair.
I'm like Khorne in this situation. As long as there's blood, I'm happy. And that's the advantage of playing a Khorne
1337
army.
Raph, thanks for that follow. Welcome to the building.
Hey, thank you. He might be elite gamer. Is that the one with the ginger?
Okay.
Ginger's always good.
The
just love ginger.
cultists should all be in.
I mean, I'm not saying that I want Chaos to win. I don't want either one to win. I'm an impartial person here. But if you're playing as Khorne, you can't lose. Because all you have to do is kill
it's just
things.
blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like as long as there's
Okay.
blood, you've won. But yeah, chat, who do you think's gonna win? Who are you rooting for in this game? I know we don't know the players necessarily, but
Hack on Slash making very valid points. There's only one JR.
Yeah.
If there were more than one, the universe might explode.
it might explode. Oh,
Sorry for all of the weird, noisy sounds. I am nursing a head cold and sneezing my guts out.
Jen.
I know. I blame Rob. Rob gave it to me. He had it for like 2 weeks,
Oh,
and
but
then he
you
came
should
to-
keep that to yourself. This is a PG-13
We're
stream,
an
Jen.
adult channel for a reason. Propriety is not exactly our forte.
So we've got, this looks like the cultists are overwatching. The bikes managed to kill 2 people on the Overwatch, so they are not going out of this without doing something at least.
Top 3.
Okay, so only 2.
Two. Regular saves?
That was totally my fault. Because I'm looking at the screen
One.
sideways.
Nice.
Because I'm special.
Alright.
We got you.
I'm
We
gonna pull
got
this
you.
one.
Chaos.
Switch camera angles because the guys are moving around a bit.
The old switcheroo.
Back cam is good at all, but I think you might want to see the movement.
And they'll charge.
So Chaos still has a big unit of blood letters, a heraldish guy, I think, whatever they now call the Corn Herald, and some obliterators in reserve at least.
Sparky's making a great point. It's really going to come down to what all is hanging out in. I was
Yeah.
going to say the webway.
So that's what I was just saying. Yeah, they've still got at least two pretty beefy units in the webway, and then
Three.
a
Oof.
character, right? Yeah.
Nice.
So they're there, and
Tyranids are
they've got
so
counterpunch
aggressive.
still. Yep. And this is a very aggressive
They're
Tyranids
such
list.
aggressive enemies.
So you can see we are turn 1, and Jonas has, half his army across the board in combat already.
Bringing the fight right to the chaos front door.
Yeah. Now, admittedly,
All up in your lawn.
it's a bunch of gaunts, so
Trampling all over your lawn gnomes. It's just rude.
blonde gnomes. I believe they're called.
Some of them are blonde, but I mean, some of them are.
No,
redheaded
I think
too.
in 40K they're called lawn squats.
Oh, valid.
Yeah.
Valid.
It's actually what happened to the squats is they just got placed on people's lawns.
Oh. I
Oh,
mean,
wouldn't mind
that
that.
is
I don't.
very similar to the Harry Potter universe. No.
No, very
They're
similar.
running around
Yeah.
just causing mayhem.
Speaking of guys, not Harry Potter, because Harry Potter's the best, and we don't need to speak of it
No,
because.
Harry Potter is actually an awful human being. But
Well, that's fair.
discussion.
But he's also a teenager. Oh, what do we? All right, so we got a long charge here. It looks like the Gene Stealers made a pretty long charge there,
When your dice are hot, they're hot.
and
Needed 10s.
they needed 10. All right, there we
You
go.
have a cheering section in chat. We've got a guy named Moon Tyrannid who's here for it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we did get. So that's a big Tyrannid charge there. That was good. Having those guys might have got shot up if they had sat there, but that's a good long charge. So that's pretty much all the Tyrannid infantry in combat this turn, except for that little bit on the far left. But it doesn't
I
look like.
shouldn't have smited. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just let you. Just left it alone.
Doesn't look like any of the big things are getting into combat this turn.
What is caution anyway?
I mean, Tyranids probably literally don't know what that word means,
Nope.
being weird, hive-minded
Okay.
bugs.
So the Gaunts have a 6-inch pylon. They've called a leap.
Woo! All right, so that's the gaunts going now.
Do some surrounding here.
That is the area of the
gotta
mechanics
stay
that
away
I
from
am
this guy, 'cause
still
I'm-
the foggiest on.
Mhm.
Is like
Actually,
piling
you know
in, consolidating, the way that those move rules work when you're getting into close combat.
Right.
It's my area of particular weakness. Then again, I'm Eldar, so we don't really want to be in people's faces. Unless
Says
I'm
the
playing my banshees.
yeah, it says the person who loves howling
And
banshees.
he's currently wearing a Howling Banshee t-shirt. It's fine.
Jen's getting a lot of weird looks right now. Not for the howling banshees, but for that we don't want to be in combat. Miss Howling Banshee said.
Run away.
Yeah. Oh, well, I
I
mean,
love them so much I don't want them to die.
it's true. I mean, they do suck in combat, but
Sad.
yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, Khorne is the one army that's kind of, is one of the armies that's good with being in combat, but that is a lot of NIDs to have in your deployment zone on turn 1.
Nobody wants that.
No, probably not. So we'll see if they manage to kill things now that they're there, or if they bounce off. But I think they've probably going to be at least a few dead cultists. And then it's just going to be down to Mike's counterpunch and how that's going to go. But this is an aggressive game here.
It reminds me of your and I's conversations about strategy and how to look at the board in a broad sense before the game starts and determine where you want the battle to happen. And that's a concept that I didn't think of before it brought it up to me, but he makes the point of saying, like, you look at the board and you decide where you want to funnel all of your energy and where you want to kind of guide the movement of the game so that you pick where the main point of contention is going to be on the board. And it seems like our Tyranid player has very much done that.
Yeah, I mean,
He's bringing the fight right up into their face
He
and
is
not giving
bringing-
them a chance to move around.
Yeah, so it looks like that big unit of Gaunts, which is 30 plus models, a pretty huge unit there, is going to get to, and you can see them. Go to the other camera real quickly for a second. This is another great shot here. You can just see that wave of Gaunts having made it in. I think you can take a picture of that. You want to screen grab that real quickly? Yeah. So I mean, that's a beautiful shot there. You can see all that huge line of Gaunts that got in there, just kind of crushing against that line of cultists and guys.
Hit on 4s, re-rolling 1s because of side and talents.
Okay.
So this is all the Gaunts. You can go back to the other one, the overhead view.
That's out.
And this is that big combat on the bottom of your screen. You can see we haven't gone to the Gene Stealers yet, which of course are the real deadly ones. But we do have this huge wave of Gaunts that's attacking right now. They're hitting, it looks like,
Ones you want on
the remaining bikes.
Oh wait, what are you doing with those ones?
So, oh yeah, there's
4.
4 ones.
So we've got
Strength 3, Tough 3.
Yes.
So
4s.
a decent amount of bikes, a few bikes that are left that are getting chewed up right now, and then a bunch of cultists in the center. And maybe some bloodthirsters?
11
Bloodletters?
regular saves.
But again, it looks really good.
He says when he rolls 5 5s.
He does a 2, 4,
Uh,
6.
Bleak 19, we don't have the army list. If you
okay.
type in something in the chat that we're gonna throw in there, it'll take you to the Best Coast Pairings
2 of them.
app, which will let you see there you go. If you take a
Oh, but I was
list,
gonna try.
yeah, you can click on there, and that should let you take a gander at some of them. Unfortunately, I don't have the complete lists.
So 3 died.
The
out.
Tyranid army is like 50 Gene Stealers and 60 Gaunts, and a Hive Tyrant, and a Prime, and a Swarm Lord,
So we'll do
some Warriors, a Toxanthrope, and a Tyrannicine, and I don't know, some big guys. I don't know Tyranid names, they're all weird. The Chaos army is a
You gonna do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
bike, it's got bikes
Sorry. What else can I do for Jonas?
and some stuff.
Take mine.
So, doesn't look like too many of the bikes died.
Okay, so this is
Yeah,
the
3 from
remainder of the
shooting.
30 group into your forces.
Okay, and then now that he's attacking the
Which
bikes.
is what, 12? 13? How many are remaining? It was 30 and
18 was in here. There's 30 in the group, so it's 12.
Alright, so 18 attacked into the infantry and did some damage there, and then he's got 12 that are attacking against the bikes to try to finish 1 or 2 of them off.
10, 11, 12. Okay.
Cool.
Alright.
Yeah, so Chaos has, I think they have a big unit. They have Obliterators in off table. They've got a big unit of Bloodletters off table, and then they've got, I think, one of the, whatever you now call the Herald of Corn, one of those guys. Skull Muncha. No, that's probably Orc.
Skullman.
That's probably Orc.
I mean, I would say that.
Yeah, Skull Sitter, like he's. And I don't mean he sits on skulls. He's like the guy who
That's what that
watches.
sounds like.
He watches your skulls. Like you're like, I've got to go. Like the Bloodthirster.
I just really need someone to
Yeah.
keep their eyes on my skull.
Well, the Bloodthirster's like, I got to go out and fight Corn or fight for Corn. But like, someone could come. I don't know. I can't leave my skull thrown
Keep him
here.
company, talk
Yeah,
to him, make
so
him
you-
feel loved.
And like they used to just be like, you just ask like your neighbor's teenage Bloodthirster to come over. But now it's kind of more. You got to have like certifications and everything, and there's an app for it, and you're like. Every 4 hours they send like a video of your skulls to make sure they're okay, and They're like, yeah, I'm a professional skull sitter. I get hired to come. Watch people's skulls when they're out. So
Skull taker.
Skull taker. I think that's
Like,
one of them.
is that like Skull
That's the
Walker?
character,
He's
right?
gonna walk your skull for you too. It's not just gonna sit with it and keep it company. He's gonna walk it around. Get it, change the scenery.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he's like saying he's gonna fight Korn or if he's saying he's directing it to Korn himself. He's like, I gotta go out and fight Korn, like Matt. I gotta go out and fight Korn. I gotta go fight. Like, who's gonna watch my skulls when I'm out fighting?
These are the hard-hitting questions.
And then there's the app, and you get the app, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go have my professional skull sitter watch it.
That's gone. So 3 this time.
All right, so 3 wounds on the horsey boys, and one of them took a wound.
Guess we'll pile
All right, and now we're going to the Gene Stealers. So it doesn't look like the Gaunts did too much damage. I don't know what infantry they killed.
Some cultists, a couple bikes, because I roll 1s and 2s really well.
Really well.
For saving.
Yeah.
While all
Ooh.
this is happening, the rest of my army's just getting madder and
Just
madder.
matter, yeah. I can
Now
smell
they're
the
insulted.
blood in the
That's right,
air.
offended, they got that going for them.
Like, I imagine there's probably like some kind
We
of
do the charging. You don't charge us. What do you do?
there's probably some kind of like panel of like Korn greater demons out there that has to vote on things, like, because they're like the blood god, right?
Sure.
And they're like, what counts as blood for the blood god, though? And
I
they're
don't
like-
know that they're going to be much for like the democratic process.
You don't think
I don't
so?
think they have the patience for that. The bloodlust just gets in the way. So like, I feel like they had the intention of making that committee, but the first time they sat down and had a disagreement, it just like devolved into like a Thunderdome.
Sure.
Snake eyes.
I don't know, they're-
I do.
Did the Gene Stealers attack yet?
Both of those hit. No, they piled in because as he killed cultists,
I don't think I can still
the
swing
cultists backed away.
through the pile in.
Oh, I see.
So 2 probably die.
Is it any AP?
It's AP -2.
Okay, yeah. Any minus
Yeah.
to the AP.
Toblerone.
Hang on, double check.
So yeah, it looks like the it looks. I don't even know what that's in reference to, but good. I want some.
Now I want some, yeah.
Will you
I haven't
favor
tried
us
Toblerone
for
in a long time.
will you favor us some Toblerone?
Alright, so
I
there's
already
that.
offered to favor you Soup
cultists.
Peddler, and you rebuffed me.
I
cruelly.
did, but can I try this?
Yeah,
No, you're
absolutely.
sick though. I'm gonna drink out the
Just take a look
side.
at
Yeah.
This one too, right?
It's
Oh, yeah, sorry.
very
4,
tasty.
5, 6, 7, 8.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10 actually.
Right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
8.
I can't remember what it was. It's like ginger, lemon, spinach, and apple.
Yeah, they
Sounds
were
like
so
it.
close.
Yeah.
So we've got just a crazy combat here. So the Gene Stealers, the Hormagaunts killed too many guys for the Gene Stealers to get to attack, which is a womp womp.
Hit on boards.
I think that's the problem is that they weren't able to, or they were just too far away. I think they had to do 2 pile-ins maybe. I'm not 100% certain.
Can't do it to win.
Let's see it.
I don't want to interfere too much in their game since this is a
Top
tournament.
3.
Top 3.
Alright,
So,
number 4, so
we'll let them figure that out.
saves on the 30-man unit.
We're not, unfortunately or fortunately, we're not here to be judges, so that's up to them to decide what they want to do. So we are getting some Hormagaunts killed down here. So I don't know though. Like, is there a group that's like Tyranid Ichor or Icor or whatever you want to pronounce it?
I
Like,
always pronounced it Ichor.
I did too. But like, is that blood? Like Necron circuits, are they blood for the blood god? Like, Tree people sap, is that blood for the blood god? Like,
Oh, actually,
and
sorry,
then
tough one.
Bleak, they just made some really long charges. He rolled really well. His dice are hot today.
yeah, he made some long charges. He gets to do some pretty crazy advances in charge rules. But again, as I pointed out earlier, it's really only the infantry that's got in. So there's a lot of Nids over there, but they are, especially the Gaunts, who are the only ones who got to attack, are the chaff of the army. So
Did I kill one? Did I kill one?
Are they cracking? Is that right?
One.
they are cracking.
Or 2.
Yeah.
No,
2.
killed 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Swarm Lord
2 and
doubles
3.
me.
I made 1.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sparky knows his names.
Yep.
Alright, leadership.
But as we can see here, none of the big guys got into combat, which is the downside to this, how aggressive this attack was.
6,
Um,
5.
2, 4, 6.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, so we lose. Oh, it's
Do you think that leaves them open for like some deep strike stuff from those units that are still back?
I mean, it's really going to come down to where Mike wants to fight this battle.
True.
So he has reinforcements he can bring in, and he's gonna be able to drop his obliterators in at this point and shoot pretty much any of the big things he wants.
That's what
They ran
happened.
away.
Yeah. So he's got some good points, some good stuff in. So it's depending on how much he wants to throw his range things and clear out the backfield, and then he's got a big close combat unit. So it really depends on if he thinks he needs to throw those in
I'm more
to
scared of the giant laser gun.
clear out all of these assault troops that get
Why
into
would you be
him.
afraid of giant laser guns? Those are totally friendly.
I'm all in there.
Or if he wants to drop them into the back and try to sweep out the backfield. So,
Okay. So my one.
but honestly, it looks like he managed to weather that charge pretty well.
What do you got?
So that is the end of Jonas's first turn.
One.
Are you? Is it looking 3?
No. Slogging objectives.
Okay. You got. We'll get first blood. Okay.
Oh my god.
We didn't have any full units get killed this turn. No.
I was kind of hoping I was kill the horses, but
Yeah.
wasn't.
So, as you can see, it was a really aggressive first turn, but Jonas actually didn't get to score any points. He was just a little bit away from one of the objectives, unfortunately. So he wasn't able to grab any of the objectives. And he
Feel
didn't.
like
He
one
didn't.
guy right there.
I'm wondering if I kind of like thread them through.
And he
if I can fit a big old
Didn't manage to kill off
slot
the
of all those bloodlines.
any actual units. So an aggressive first turn, but not the best for getting points.
I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna take a minute.
Yeah, he could have got all 4 objectives, but it looks like he moved off.
Well,
Jonas, you're not on that. You're not.
typically that happens at the end.
You're not on the. There's an objective. Is there an objective in the middle?
Mm-mm.
No.
They're at the two.
Okay, so there's one on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
I should have mentioned that out.
No conga line. Oh, sad times.
There will be a conga line, but as recent internet unpleasantness, it's
It's gonna wait till the end.
gonna wait till
It's
the
gonna wait
end.
till the end.
What's that a reference to?
That's some shade at an LVO game that may have been televised
Oh,
and people may be
that
talking
was it.
about.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the mission, they're using the ITC Champion 8th edition ITC 2018, I think, Champions missions, and that is very complicated. But the primary objective is there's 4 objectives on the table. There's they kind of just pointed them out. You can see those white spots on the table though. There's one kind of at each corner-ish, but a little slighted, and then there's one that's covered in some guys.
These guys are in.
Oh, is the Reaper Destroyer a unit that he killed?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, actually, yes. So that's first blood.
So that-
Oh, yeah.
Or is it a unit? Is the Reaper by itself a unit? That was a question we had.
Yes, it is. The rapier is a unit, so yeah, you do get
Oh.
first blood.
Okay.
Got him. Thanks, Twitch chat.
Sorry.
Thanks, the internet.
They are so useful at times.
Good call, Spunky
Strangeways
Joe.
42, thank you for that follow. Welcome to
Yeah.
Belfry.
So back to the objectives. So those
So
4 objectives.
anything like extra attacks or extra strength or
If you
anything
control
like
all
that?
4 objectives at the end of your turn, you get a point for that. And then at the end of each player's turn, if you control an objective, you get a point. And if you kill a unit, you get a point for that player. And at the end of each battle round, whoever controls the more objectives and killed more units that round gets an additional points.
Okay.
So that's the primary objective.
Much simpler breakdown of point structure than what we usually play at our home games, where you just get
No.
power level points.
Well, then that, but then each player also picks 3 secondary objectives,
Ah, okay.
and they can
So
score.
they're not the same for the whole game.
They're not
They're
the same.
each army.
Each army has 3 secondary objectives, and they can get up to 4 points for each second objective. So you have to score every player turn, every player round. It's a lot of scoring that goes on.
That is complicated.
It's a pretty complicated thing. So there's just a lot of different objectives they're going to.
Many moving parts to keep in mind when you are structuring your battle.
Yeah.
So no.
So the important thing
Well, that will happen
At the end.
yeah,
is
you're
that
right.
Jonas did kill a unit, so that's going to give him a 1 point and then a point for one of his secondary objectives as well, I believe.
No, I was making a joke.
So
Yeah, I was
would
making a
we
joke.
want to go ahead and mark that now?
So
No, we won't worry about it
Okay.
because it's going to take a lot of stuff. And I'm only guessing at the. I don't know if there's anything else that they got points for.
here, what for the weapon?
But we are on the bottom of turn
This
1.
moved. So
A lot of Mike's stuff is sitting there because it's already in combat.
technically,
He's moved a few things around,
rid of my move phase.
and now he's going to bring
That
in
makes
his
sense, Sparky.
really.
That seems to be the way for most 40k elements that you introduce. It's complicated for the first few battles while you're getting the hang of it, and then once you've got it down, it becomes like a major.
Yeah, the primary objective is not that complicated. It's just a lot of bookkeeping to do it. It's the secondary objectives that can be more complicated, especially if you're not really used to playing.
Now, at all tournaments, do the players themselves have to keep track of those points and how those are allocated, or are there certain tournaments where you'll have somebody who's watching the table and keeps track of those?
No, generally there's just not enough judges
At the end of the game?
for people to actually keep track of the points or anything. Sometimes I don't know. I think sometimes like the top table on the later rounds at the bigger tournaments may have a judge assigned to them specifically. I believe,
Just to make sure that everything goes smoothly.
like I believe at LVO, I think the final round, the top table, the very final of 9 rounds, had a judge that was assigned to it specifically. But I mean, as you
That
can,
makes sense specifically at tournaments where there's a lot of prize support, there's
Yep.
bigger monetary prizes and things like that. You want to make sure everything runs smoothly.
but even then, the judge. I mean,
That's where it's.
40K doesn't have refs, right?
Why not? I want to be a 40 rep.
It's just it's just how we've done it. So we don't have refs. The judge generally isn't there, even if there is a judge, and maybe some of the top table ones play it a little differently. But generally, if there is a judge, he's there to make judgments on rule questions.
Sure.
He's not there to say, "Oh, you're doing that wrong," and interjecting the game,
Okay.
and say, "Oh."
So like the
that co-
parliamentarian at a meeting. He's not there to interview,
Sure.
but if you get landlocked at a point,
Right.
you can ask him to look something up.
Right. So unless sometimes there's some specific thing they're worried about, like slow play or something like that, the judge isn't going to be interjecting himself into the game and calling players out on how they're playing or something like that. They're just going to be there to, hey, I'm going to get a question and call a judge over something like that.
Sure.
So it looks like we've got, so you can see now a question about the reserves and where they're going to come in that I was talking about earlier. That big unit of 30 bloodletters has dropped down into Jonas's backfield.
These are
Damn.
And it looks like they're going to try to sweep some of those big units out of the backfield and hope. And so Mike's basically betting that the forces he already has over there can deal with the initial Tyranid charge.
Let's see if I can.
And I think he also dropped down that character we were talking about. It's dropped down over there. And then we've got obliterators. So we got 3 obliterators dropping down in a very small area that they can fit in over there, it looks like, to take some shots at the big things. They might be close enough to pick off the Swarm Lord even. And then we've got a Dreadclaw assault
Ooh, that thing looks
drop
gnarly.
pod with a Contemptor Dreadnought, or with a
That's a
Butcher
big
cannon,
man's.
Havoc launcher. And,
Yep.
heavy flame.
That is a big guy.
all right. So yeah, we've got
He's been drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes all day.
He's cranky and ready for it.
real grumpy.
Didn't even lift the helmet.
And he has
He's in there.
Just getting that.
nothing but contempt.
Oof.
He's so filled with contempt. Okay,
Yeah.
so came in.
So, Bleak mentioned
It's
the
exciting.
tournament
Shooting.
timing. Turn timing. Words are hard.
Yeah.
How often is it that you find tournaments that implement that?
In 40K, it's very rare. It's very rare. And I think they did it on some tables in some rounds of LVO, but that wasn't even something that was, as far as I know, it wasn't something that was universally applied at LVO.
Was
He's gonna
that?
shoot at the swarm
Are there
board,
certain
hitting
armies
on
that have a
threes,
tendency
rerolling
to
ones,
play
'cause
slow,
they're-
or is it just they knew certain people have a tendency to do that, so
They
knew they
roll
needed to time?
Yeah.
it?
I mean,
How
there's-
do they determine who
No,
to
there it is.
I honestly don't know.
Strength
Um,
12.
Your best guess?
I
If
mean,
you have one, and if you
I,
don't, that's
I
fine.
think they just noticed that it was a problem in some of the rounds, and then they decided that they were
Yes,
going to
exactly.
watch the
I'm
top
telling you,
players. I
I
mean,
can roll one,
some players
everybody-
might, sometimes people might complain about a certain player.
He's 7.
Um,
He's 7. I'm gonna spend
Maybe
one.
that's what they were doing, is they were listening to specific complaints. I don't know, honestly.
Interesting.
Oh, he is top 7.
Is he really?
Yeah, he is
All right,
top
I'm
7.
spending a command point, rerolling that.
All right, so we
I
are
roll
getting some,
one,
some shooting
we're going
here.
to lunch right now.
Oh!
Oh, no. To lunch, everyone. It's been a great one. All right, second rapier at the.
So that was a rapier failing and rerolling and failing
ones.
again.
Look, here's what's gonna
Get
happen.
another
You're
dice.
getting a
Yeah,
different
get
color
another
of
dice.
So rerolling ones because of that guy. 3, at least they hit.
Okay.
He's not negative to hit or anything, is he?
Nah.
No, he's not.
Okay, good. What's his toughness?
Top 7.
Good. Well, thank you. Wounded. It's -4.
That goes through.
Okay. Now,
No saving.
this gets horrible. So here is the class of wounds that it's in. 2. It's not that bad.
Okay, good.
I
like not that
yeah. It's only D6 wounds.
Oh, it's only D6.
Yeah.
Only. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Could have been
This
3
is all
D6.
fine.
Turns
Yeah,
out
look at
it's
that. It
6.
turns out it's 6.
Turns out it's 6.
All right, so that's
it could have been 3 D6 wounds.
That's pretty
Pretty,
disgusting.
yeah, they're pretty good.
yeah. So that the Reaper Destroyer did do 6 wounds to one of them. The other one failed.
Should have done more.
Yeah, we got 6 wounds on the Toxicrin, or I think that's what's it called,
This is a
Tentacle
character,
Beast.
Yeah.
How many wins does he have?
4, 5.
Yeah, so yeah, in that situation, Bleak, it was because I think that there were some concerns about a specific player taking a long time, but it's very rare that you actually get something like that. I mean, and it's fairly common. You know, today we've got 20-ish players, and there's 1 judge for the tournament,
Right.
and that's not an uncommon ratio. At big tournaments is something like that. So that's just why you can't have individual judges or people watching too much. Is you might have 1 judge per 20 players, or sometimes less. I don't know overall how many judges LVO had, but they had 500 players. So
Wow.
I mean, you can imagine that.
How long does that tournament take?
I mean, it took 3 days. They did that with 9. They had 9 rounds, so they played 3 games each day.
Guns are
Um,
strength 8.
I'm ignoring that
Everybody's playing 9 rounds.
unless you drop, but yeah, everyone plays 9 rounds. Yeah, and I'm just ignoring corn shooting because I don't know why corn is shooting. It's really confusing me. Yeah.
I mean, if you've got it,
3 normally?
flaunt it.
Yeah. So this is the obliterators firing. At what are they firing at?
The
Toxicrin. Trinifex. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, look at me.
I have no
Yeah.
idea what any of the guys. Okay, so
How
what
much
was
strength
it?
was he?
Strength 8.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. LVO apparently maybe had 7 judges. That seems low to me from what I've seen out of the big tournaments, but not super low. But again, it's not uncommon to have. I mean, with 450-ish players, even 1 judge per person is what? That's
Negative 3. 3. Sorry.
Okay. What was that? Whoa.
that would be almost 30 judges.
Sure.
And
Okay.
generally, you need people who know the rules well and are good players themselves, so they can be confident and be good judges. And those players want to play in the tournament. Is one of the other problems you have.
Right.
So
Past leadership or
As
whatever.
long as they're in synapse, yeah.
so you'll see plenty of situations where.
Okay.
Depending on the tournament, you may have top players who can't play in it because they're having to judge and things like that.
Butcher Benjamin at Big Boy.
But yeah, so you have judges, not refs, and their job is not to go around and interfere in games because they just don't have time.
Damn.
Minus 1 to hit.
There goes my
Oh, they
hopes.
buff him? Oh, I got you.
That's why your guys were hitting on.
Right. I thought it was just a natural, like a stink cloud or something.
There's some Carnifex adaptations you can get. when
That's
you
what I
hit
have,
on
How bad? So what happened to the Tyrannifex?
5 wounds.
5 wounds. Okay. So he's putting some. We're getting some wounds on.
So yeah, I'm gonna put Butcher King shots at him. Do the havoc on him as well.
Yeah, it's a good play. That's a good point. Is that you do have a large bracket of people who very rarely call over a judge because they're not going to win the game. They're not going to win the tournament, especially when you get to day 2 or 3 and they know that we're just here to have fun and play some games.
That's valid.
And most players, probably the majority of players never need a judge in a tournament, or need a judge once out of 9 games for some corner case question.
Yeah, you need to stay away from
I
that.
will. I'm gonna stay away. So 2 strength 8.
So
1 gets through.
All right.
Negative.
So we got some wounds on the big guys. This is still shooting.
Really? -1.
-1.
And then we got, this is the Contemptor that's throwing some stuff out.
Negative. And then Havoc. 2 shots. Cause why? Nothing done.
Communist Moogle. Thank you for that follow. Welcome to the Belfry.
Ah, welcome in.
That is a fascinating name. I didn't realize that Moogles had political aspersions.
No? It's a Moogle.
What is a Moogle? Oh no. Abe, really?
Yeah, what's a
Oh,
Moogle?
wait, that's
Have you never played any of the Final Fantasy games?
Uh,
Moogles are the little white creatures with the little palms on their heads. Here, I'll show you a picture.
I played
Oh, okay.
11? 12?
Yeah, Moogles are
What's the one with the bunny girl in it?
15 autogun
Those are
shots.
Moogles.
Yeah.
No, what was one was the one
You might as well
with the
have
bunny
that.
girl?
It's
I don't-
just like there's really
That
fancy.
sounds like that would be 9.
No, it's after 10.
Yeah.
Fran, was that her name?
I never played any of those.
Okay, so
I mean, I played like 7 back in the day, I
For
think.
the Koopa Land. Oh, I love that.
Snake Eyes,
Beautiful.
Actually, which is good.
With the blood.
Oh, and actually,
Me.
yeah, and actually reroll.
I don't. Stable Abe.
So I
That's the
actually just earned my affiliate status for my personal channel, Mayhems_Muse. And when you become an affiliate, you have the ability to choose
And he does not get to reroll.
your little channel
I
emotes.
made
And I
it
think I'm gonna make mine all Moogles.
I hadn't been doing that.
Okay, so
So yeah, if he wants to
real quick, we are doing we are to the corn charge phase. This is probably the important phase.
1 hit.
So we got some little things over on the side that did some charges in Mike's battlefield, and now his Contemptor is trying to charge the Tyrannifex.
-3.
Okay, he is 5. Well.
And fun fact, my parents were a little weird, so we never owned a TV, and I've never owned a console in my life,
2.
Oh wow.
which is why I've never really played any of the games. I played a little bit of like 7 over at a friend's house, but you know how that goes.
We owned consoles and TVs, but my stepdad owned them and was very particular about it. So I only ever got to play games when he was out to sea for 6 months on Westpac because he was in the Navy.
Sure.
That was the only time I ever got to play
I feel
games.
good about that.
I remember thinking that Final Fantasy VII looked like it must be the hardest game known to mankind because he tried to beat Sephiroth, the final boss. He would play that last battle for hours at a
hours.
time and get nowhere and just give up.
All
and
right,
lose.
let's see if this Contemptor makes it in.
Real close. Won't make it.
And then I
No.
beat it the first time I played it.
Did the Contemptor take damage from the shot?
Yeah.
From Overwatch?
2 damage from Overwatch.
And did not make the charge
He's
in.
gonna be dead.
Carnix, thanks for that follow. Welcome to Belfry.
That's unfortunate.
That's
All
what
right.
happens to him.
And now we've got.
these horrible things charging into you.
Okay.
They're using their banner. So you got Overwatch or?
No, they're all melee.
Okay, well,
Are they charging just the Warriors? Or
I don't think I can get to the
just to clarify, sorry.
whatever bug
Okay.
thing that is. So I'm just gonna kill the Warriors.
All right.
You can get in.
Yeah.
Wait, you need a 9, right?
Need a 9, rolling 3 dice and re-rolling.
Okay.
But
Should be able to do
I
it.
can still fail
Yeah,
that.
you can definitely still fail.
Trust me. Let me show you something impressive.
All right.
7, 8.
That's
That's how you.
that wouldn't. So re-rolling.
5,
Okay,
6,
make
7,
it.
8.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. 11.
Or 11.
All right. So we get 3 dice. It took 3 dice and a reroll,
And a re-roll.
but the Bloodthirsters, Bloodletters did get in there.
Think about how embarrassing it would have been if I missed the re-roll.
Yeah.
Like just extra.
On live TV, too. Carnix, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the Belfry. We appreciate you joining us here. If you guys are just joining us, we are Bella Lost Souls. I'm Stable Ape. I've got
No, go
I'm
ahead,
Jen,
keep it.
also known as Mayhem's Muse.
and hiding over in the corner, taking care of all the behind the scenes things. That's Mars. And we are streaming live from Dragon Slayer Comic and Fantasy in still sunny Austin, Texas.
I've been outside now. It is indeed sunny.
It is indeed sunny. They're playing a 2,000 point 40K tournament using the ITC rules. We're on round 1, turn 1 still of round 1. And we've got the amazing Jonas with his Nid army, which is all over the table. And we've got Mike with his Chaos army. And they've decided that they're going to simultaneously fight close combats in each other's deployment zones, but not in the middle of the field as might be traditional. So we're just going to be fighting in deployment zones today. I guess the no man's land really is a no man's land or something.
So.
So yeah, so we are in the corn combat phase here,
Barely in. I'll call it in.
Okay.
and the corn
So yeah, it's
You
gonna
can
be.
keep your buff.
and
So yeah, it's. I think I figured it out. Let's see, the 25 plus 1 attack.
Are all of them able to attack?
Oh yeah, actually, man, you tell me. You can count them if you
So
want.
like 2.
and I'm stable A, but they don't let me use computers or typing things.
Okay, it's not that we
So-
don't let him. It's that Abe refuses to make a Twitch account.
Yeah.
So
I'm old school like that. I'm Abe. You can just hear my dulcet tones.
and occasionally his pager.
Plus 1 attack
What?
because they're
'Cause
more
you're
than
old
20
school.
Oh.
of them.
No, the old school's the objective they're playing for.
Is it 18? 16.
16.
16.
It's not because I'm old school. It's because I'm a doctor. Gosh.
So 48 attacks.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, if you don't know, my day job is I'm actually a surgeon. So anytime I'm here commentating, I've left in the middle of a surgery.
That's how important 40K is.
It's super important. I run out in the middle of surgery to make sure we get
This is 36.
the hot strats, as Jen calls
The
them.
hot strats.
I'm not a doctor. My brother is, but I'm not.
What kind of doctor?
Well, he's in medical school at the moment, but he'll be a doctor soon.
Does he have a general or is he going to be a specialist?
I think at the moment he starts at colonel and then he gets promoted to general.
Nice. Thank you.
Warriors are
We got jokes, occasionally dad jokes.
Jokes for
We'll be here all
days.
day.
Yeah. So there's a lot of blood letters rolling attack dice against Tyranid warriors over there. I'm guessing it's not going to go well for the Tyranid warriors. They are chopping things up over there, and that's happening up on the top of your screen there. That's the new charge, and that looks like it did not go well for the Tyranid warriors,
And then, yeah, they're gonna pile in.
as I suspected. And they are now getting into the big gun exocrine guy, whatever he's called. I don't know Tyranid names. They're not written in a language because Tyranids just go blah 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 blah.
Hey, I'm right here.
I'm sorry.
Feeling, man.
Was that your? I'm sorry. Was that your hive mother's name? I didn't mean to insult her.
Love it. He's a hero.
Yeah, it was a real close fought. We were on the fence there to see what would happen to those warriors.
I asked him if he just wanted me to pick him up. But
I never get to roll that many dice.
No,
It's
it's
fun.
exciting. Yeah.
You should see when I have a 30 group of termagants with devours. It's 90 shots.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's the best.
That's fun.
Okay, over here.
Horde armies, friends.
So, 3 and then 2 for the sergeant. They charged.
All right. So we've got some
Here, hit on threes.
more blood letters that got into that other big unit of
Maybe
Gaunts
Strength 5 right now. 'cause they charged.
that charged in. We're gonna see how they do here.
Oh my god.
Apparently not
one,
well.
One gaunt.
One gone.
One gone.
Wait, is that a broken one over there?
I think so.
Is there one?
Guys, if you are joining us, we do. So we're in the far top of that combat there, and now we're all in this crazy wood fight. Guys, if you are just joining us, we do stream 40K games Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, starting at 2 p.m. Central Time. If we have a hot new codex or something like that, yeah, it is a Dreadclaw there. If we have a hot new codex, we start at 1 on Mondays, and then we do painting streams on Thursdays in the afternoon. We've got NeverQuest, our D&D stream, Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then we do special event streams on Tuesdays or Wednesdays as announced.
That's right.
Trying to get hot new games or interviews into the office. And then, of course, we do cover these first Sunday of every month tournaments here at Dragon's Lair, as well as other special events that we'll be announcing. So you can always join us here at twitch.tv/BellWrestles. Or if you're old-fashioned and haven't fully moved to the visual medium, I don't understand it, but I think there's like these hipster people out there who read things. They
That's me.
like use their visual eyes. You can always check us out on bellavessels.net. That's our print written stuff. If you don't want to just have me constantly narrating things to you, you can read my words in my voice or something like that.
Or you could just turn off audio and only look at the video.
And only look
You
at the
have that
videos,
option.
yeah. I mean, if you want to watch like a 3-hour loop of Mike's hand rolling dice, you can do that.
You can
That's a
absolutely
little weird,
do that.
though.
This is your choice.
That is your choice.
And then the exciting newest thing that you guys are actually the first people to hear about it. We now have a Patreon channel for Bella Vossels. So we are funding for some new creative content, some new tech and things like that. So you can check out our Patreon page if that's a thing you're into as well.
So guys,
Well of Lost Souls every day.
there's a lot less Gaunts as you can see there. How many Gaunts got killed there?
3 or 8.
8. All right, so we lost 8 Gaunts from his charges, and we've got.
I was like, oh, God, really?
You can't fit through the window.
And now the Gene Stealers get to go at last. They were kind of blue knitted last turn, blue sacked last turn or whatever. Like birthing sacks, right? Last turn they got that charge in, but they didn't get to attack.
About their mother right now, okay?
Blue spawning pooled last turn when they charged in and didn't get to make their attacks. So this turn they are going and they're going to get their attacks off here. I hope the internet has not figured out that one and has pictures of it, because I don't want to know what that means.
So, well, I'm just gonna say that these 4 are in the building. Sure.
So
That way we don't have to move models around.
oof. I mean, that is like a Tyranid stratagem.
To move buildings?
They can like pick a terrain piece and say it doesn't count as cover anymore.
Is that really a thing?
That's a Tyranid stratagem, yeah.
You have to use it before the game starts.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are these guys in? They're out.
I mean, the building's still there, so you still get to have height and things
And
like
like line
that.
of sight.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, those Gene Stealers are finally getting to make their attacks. Oh, jeez, I don't want to think about it. I'm just like imagining like a spawning pool and like the guy with the tentacles is just using his tentacles. He's just standing above it using his tentacles to stir it up and like pluck Gaunts out of it or something.
Nasty.
And then every now and then he just vomits a stream of like biomatter into it to help them be born.
This is the best love story.
Yeah, like that's tiered into romance novels right there. Yeah.
This is Cultist, right? Yeah. This is Cultist, right?
All right, so this is Gene Stealers on Cultists. They're gonna steal their genes. They might be skinny. They're cultists, so they're probably skinny genes. I don't know if they're pre-distressed, but by the time the Gene Stealers get them from the cultists, they
They're
will be
very
distressed.
much distressed,
Yeah,
yes.
very much distressed.
Probably hole ridden as well.
but the
that's
jeans-
all the rage these
Yeah,
days.
and the Gene Stealers are gonna look super hot when they go out dancing tonight in those new jeans. It's gonna be great. Except for like the one who stole a pair of mom jeans and is like,
Oh, he's like, these just do not
Yeah.
accent my curves. It's unfortunate, really.
yeah.
String 4 -1. 6 is ran on -4.
The 3s and 6s are horrible.
So there's 1 6. There's 2 6.
So
2 6s.
there's some random.
Yes.
3s
Picking up what you're laying down.
They're strength 4.
I mean, you can't. You don't get saves against those.
But
Oh, that's valid.
those are-
I mean, so you're just picking up what you put down, which is your
they're all
models.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
one?
Oh no.
So how many was that? 2, 4, 6, 8.
You know, I joked about earlier that like,
19?
you know, people who still read and stuff, but like 40 years from now, some archaeologist is gonna watch this stream and be like, "Wait, people used to read words with their eyes?"
Weird. They don't have bone spurs to just put the knowledge
Yeah.
straight into their
Took
brain.
out the whole squad, baby.
Like, ooh.
Ooh, snap.
So that, oh, yep, look at that. He's doing the old use your hands.
That's a very
Scooperoo.
technical strategy
Yep.
there. The scoop and remove.
The
Yes.
luxury of not
I mean, but let's be honest here, folks.
That's
Like,
the luxury of not having.
in the Gene Stealer versus Cultist close combat fight, like,
Right? 3 inches up, so that means I can pile in to the next floor.
I mean-
yeah, man.
I don't know how they do the, I don't know how they do,
But they-
I don't know how they
let's
do,
ask chat.
This guy would be the-
Chat obviously knows more than any of us
Oh,
combined
there's guys
here.
in there. Okay.
yeah. I don't know how they do,
No, I'll
they
I'll
do
leave
the
them.
stuff at the tournaments here,
So they're
so.
not they're not in combat anymore because this cultist is too far away, and
Just
you're not
like-
shooting anymore. So
Right.
Gentlemen, you have an hour.
Okay, thanks. All right,
That's
you're-
it. 1 hour left in this first battle round.
Yeah, they do. They do fall over and die. So I mean, I don't think anyone was like real surprised that the cultists didn't pull out the win against the giant Gene Stealer mob there.
Or disappointed.
Disappointed. I mean, I guess you're cultists. You're all about belief, right? So you had to believe it there.
so Tyranid Prime, 4 attacks, strength 5.
Hello. Do not eat yellow snow.
It's good advice always.
Which I imagine you pick that name just to remind yourself every day. Like you go outside and you're like, oh, this yellow.
Constant reminder. of
All this
fire.
yellow snow. Oh, I should.
Don't
Nope.
do
Nope.
it.
What's my name? What's my name?
This is not pina colada flavored.
Nope.
Do not do it.
Pina colada's white anyway.
It depends on who's making the mixture. I've seen it be yellow if there's more
Let's
emphasis
call it-
on the pineapple.
Like that's called a margarita.
My turn.
Mmm, tasty.
Is the big dude
Yeah.
making-
Oh yeah, powerful lens.
Speaking of, at this bridal party event last night, they were making
Yeah,
amazing
so it's
mango
all powerful
daiquiris.
lens.
Ooh.
Tasty.
Yeah, Jen went to some kind of party. She doesn't know what it was, but it was a party.
Well, they called it the Bach weekend for this wedding that I'm in, and it
And
was
they
the
apparently-
whole bridal party getting together and just hanging out and doing bonding stuff for the weekend. Like we went and bowled and played laser tag and beat.
You must be
children.
from Texas, like the rest, like we are.
What is snow? Yeah,
What
we
is
don't get that here, but
Yeah.
we hear that it's
We
this
hear.
substance that falls sometimes in this season called winter that we also don't really have.
Yeah.
2 and -1.
I saw a meme the other day that was the groundhog
Yeah.
saying like, "All right, winter is going to be gone, summer is coming." Except for you, Texas, you do your own thing.
So
like,
apparently,
whatever.
well, apparently we have a Bee Caves armadillo. Bee Caves
Okay,
Bob.
that's the second time that I've heard that in the last couple days. I heard something about our armadillo, and that's
Yeah.
all I heard. And I was like, wait, what do you mean our armadillo? Are they just making a joke, or
No,
so
apparently.
there's actually a thing?
Apparently, yeah, I saw it on the news. There's Bob. I think it's Bob, the Bee Caves armadillo, and he did not see his shadow, so he says winter will be over. So we'll have to see here who's gonna win that. Well, clearly you should get them to install a water fountain in here. Then we wouldn't have these
We
problems.
have
anymore.
needs.
Wait, can you like text someone to drill a hole in the window over there and run us a feed? So
Because we know the Dragon's Eye really just lives to
Yeah.
make all of our worlds easy.
so it looks like the toxic.
What would Anakin do?
Whatever the guy.
Bad joke.
Oh.
Bad Star Wars joke.
Oof.
I saw him killing younglings.
The younglings. We are a very serious podcast over here. If
The
you've not
most.
noticed,
So this is the wave of Gaunts.
you don't know Mars. Their parents might appreciate it more than you think. They're here playing Pokemon on a Sunday. What do you think?
Jumping ahead of you.
Oh no.
I just didn't want you to.
So the Gaunts are making their swings backs in that big combat on the bottom of your table. Looks like the big Tyranid beastie with the gun killed. They killed like 2 or 3, I think. Of there was a couple of the bloodletters on that Jonas has now obscured, blotted out.
Who's on what?
Now who's on
this little
first?
group right here is just attack.
What's on second? Who's not on what?
The Nids ate all of them. There is no first, second, or third. There's just biomass. The shooty exocrine, is that? Yes, the exocrine. That's the one. It looks like it killed a couple. And I think there's the prime got in there too with the guys.
All of them?
So
Definitely tail around.
that looks like it's some more cultists that are dead.
Rip cultists. We barely knew you.
It's true.
Can you pass them around now?
It's not a good day to be a cultist.
Jigglypuff wouldn't attack you. It would just try to put you to sleep.
I
It's
mean,
more afraid of you than you're afraid of it.
Is that not an attack?
Group will attack the horses.
I mean, it's considered an attack for means of
And then
performance, but it is a self-defense mechanism.
I mean, like,
So,
He doesn't normally attack you afterwards. He puts you asleep and then he runs away.
that's fair, but like, I feel that legally, if there's like a lone woman walking around and you try to put her to sleep, that's an attack. Unless you just try to talk to her.
Well, I
and she
suppose that
falls
depends
asleep.
on what the intent is afterwards. Like, if she startles you and you're just like, oh god, sleep,
Doesn't
and then you
matter.
run away because you're like, oh, I don't want that. That's
Yeah.
different from like, I'm gonna put you to sleep and then
Now I
carry
just
you back
have
to my
like
castle.
this idea that Jigglypuff as like its defense just like shows up and like reads you their college dissertation and you fall asleep. Like,
alright, and then 5s, because they're higher toughness.
Yeah, I feel like in the practical world application of what Pokemon would be as humans, that would totally be
Yeah,
the
like-
stodgy
let
professor.
me-
I didn't do it last time. Never
all right, so we got this ongoing combat.
Yeah. I think I got
Pinsir is
one
actually
guy.
one of my favorite Pokemon.
Jen loves cockroaches secretly. She always
He's
carries.
not a cockroach. He's my top level Pinsir is number 8 on my power level of Pokemon right now.
That's
My highest is a Rhydon. I have 2 Rhydons in my top 6.
and that's like a Pokemon on the go reference. Is
Yes,
that
it
correct?
is. It is indeed. Yep. I am currently holding down for Team Mystic, the gym here at Dragon's Lair.
Oh, there you go.
With my 2191 powered Rhydon.
Those are certainly numbers.
Those
That's
are numbers.
Certainly
They
a
are.
game. Speaking of games, though,
Oh yeah, we're here for a tournament.
what? It does, get a little hard to give
The
a
joke is, now you're down to the sergeant. He's just,
and he's the important one.
he's somehow a lot better than the other guy.
He's got the extra attack. When you get to these giant combats like this, it's a little hard for us to keep track of everything, just as an apology. But it looks like the Gaunts are slowly chewing through all of the non-Gaunt things, non-character things. Definitely. And Jonas has some hot dice here today, I'm going to tell you that.
This was the day to have hot dogs.
Uber.
Yeah.
Start checking dice, I guess.
So that combat is just chewing down.
Yeah, so they're,
Though I think-
they're tough 4, tough 3. Oh, okay, then
I
4.
picked up a couple threes. Oh, because you're strength 3.
Yeah, it's on strength 3.
Okay, cool.
Mike does still have some characters back there, and those characters are going to definitely be a problem for just the basic Gaunts to deal with.
1, 2, 3, 4.
But I will say,
They're all dead.
if Jonas's first initial attack didn't do as much as he could have wanted to do on the initial charge, I think he's managed to weather Mike's counterattack fairly well, and he's in a decent position to clean some stuff up. So that is the end of turn 1. At the end of turn,
I have none. Oh, this guy, their leadership.
okay.
There, look, super brave.
Oh, look at that.
So,
Brave little toasters.
So more guys, and it looks like
You got one guy
the
left, right?
skull.
No,
the s-
they're all
that
gone?
was a 6 plus, like
A lot.
7, 8, 20.
So it looks like the skull sitter is gonna get.
So yeah,
Tentacled.
I didn't get any. You didn't get any. They're not 3 away. Did you measure that? I don't think they're 3. No, they're out.
And no one holds that objective in your backfield.
The anti-tentacle monster moved to the right.
And then at the end of the turn, who killed more? But you killed a unit. You killed the warriors, right?
Yeah.
So you get a point for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get a point for killing any units on your turn,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also had old school, right? So you killed a unit
Yeah.
during the first round.
So I got 1 point for first blood. Bloodletters, cultist, so that's 3.
So 4 total?
You gotta kill, man, I hate Jonathan's score.
So
Put that on the internet, I don't care.
I think
Done.
Jonas, on your turn, you got 2 points. You got 1 for killing a unit, and 1 for
For first
killing
blood.
for first blood, and
Oh,
then
okay.
you got the same thing.
Then we also get one for killing more.
And then at the end of the battle round, you would get an additional
Right,
point
okay.
for having killed more units that battle round.
Okay.
So it's 3 to 2.
So it should be 3 to 2 if I'm calculating that
So you
right.
got to kill one what, bonus?
So you got
For Jonas, I'm saying.
Jonas. So yeah, you got 1 bonus
Kill
from
one bonus, and then kill more.
yeah,
Okay.
And I got to kill one.
and then 1 bonus for old school.
And what is old school?
So old school is the 4. You both did old school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first strike, because you each killed a unit during the first battle round, which is
Gotcha.
both players' turn,
Oh.
right? Because you killed the warriors.
Oh, yeah.
So that was worth 2 points for you.
All right.
So he should have 4 then?
No.
No, that is correct.
So he gets so it's 2. It is 2, 2, 3 right now.
Okay.
If we're doing the scoring correct at the end of turn 1.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, the tentacle monster is going after the skull sitter, who may not be able to continue work after this.
Yeah, he might need to take a couple days off from babysitting.
Though on the other hand, it's possible that the tentacle monster has a lot of skulls in his stomach and is just giving him an up close interview, and it's like, I'd like you to come
Oh.
inside here and
Field
watch
trip.
all
Field
the
trip,
yeah,
yeah.
come watch these skulls inside my stomach.
It's the interactive experience, you know?
Definitely.
Sometimes you gotta think outside the box to keep those charges entertained.
Yep. It looks like the exocrine has fled the combat there. It looks like everything ran away from the combat with the bloodletters. And
That is a world of nope.
like nope.
We're just gonna nope that. Throwing out some nope cards.
Looks like the Gene Stealers
I'm gonna move everything
and the Tyrant on the left
down
are
here.
moving
Actually, there's guys.
Yeah.
to try to yep. It looks like they're moving over to try to hit and the Swarm Lord as well. It's like they're trying to get rid of that Contemptor Dreadnought and the Obliterators. We've got that big combat that's still just pressing forward, and Jonas is figuring out where to go with the Gene Stealers there. He wants to try to get to the
And make a orange charge or whatever.
Well, but
It'll be 3 up and across, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So come out the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jonas is going to try to charge the all the laser destroyers if he can. So it looks like we're going to be spreading out and fighting pretty much all over the table today on Jonas's turn. Yeah, I'm not like going to bet that the Obliterators are going to be, if he hits them with Gene Stealers, the Tyrant, and the Swarm Lord, I'm not like betting too much on those Obliterators being around much longer.
Hey, Spunky Joe, how's it going?
But we'll see. I mean, you know.
Okay. Psychic. We'll start with him.
Well,
He has Catalyst.
I hope.
Or no, Swarm Lord
I hope
has
it's going well
Catalyst
for
himself.
Spunky Joe.
Six.
I hope he's had his morning Joe and he's
Oh
full
my
of
God,
spunk
that's what I
today.
asked the last time.
And you have not fallen into the well of lost souls.
Nope.
He's gonna snipe.
So we are getting some.
6.
So that was another fail.
That's what we should call our
Catalyst.
forum page, the well of
the
lost
well of lost
souls.
souls.
3 wounds apiece.
Yeah.
Because you fall into the
wait,
well
is
and
it
then you
two?
just stay forever.
I think there's 3.
3.
Apiece. Okay.
So he smote an obliterator.
This one is gonna cast.
Was that a Tyranid spell you just said?
Smite.
Smite.
Is that noise you made? Is that the name of the Tyranid psychic power?
Yeah.
I'd believe it.
Definitely.
It would terrify me.
Well of Lost Souls. Jen, is that where you and Matt were filming that video
That
last
is
week?
where we are filming. Excerpts from Matt and I's first adventure in the Well of Lost Souls will probably be published sometime next week. look out for that. We were in the process of filming an unboxing video and a playthrough,
The -1.
and just forgot that we had an audio setting turned on our mixer. Filmed 2 hours worth of video and then realized that it was all unusable. So that's great.
Okay.
Public service announcement, folks. Always check your audio settings before recording your video.
Yeah. Also, just to let you guys know, we do have a YouTube channel. We are working together with our Patreon page.
Our Patron
I mean,
page.
I
We
want
are
a
not-
Patron. I
we
want
are
a
not
Patron
yet
page.
sponsored by Patron, but we have hope.
I'm just gonna, but all our Patreon page is literally just like pay us money and we'll drink Patron for you on stream.
I would
Like,
do that.
no, but working together with that, we are working to put out more YouTube kind of content, shorter form battle reports that have been cut down that you can watch, as well as our live content. And then we've got a lot of other videos that'll be going up there, hobby stuff. We'll be doing lore videos and things like that. So just pay attention to that. More stuff for you guys to enjoy on the times that we cannot be live streaming for you, because unfortunately, like Jen has to sleep. And
Sadly, I have not yet figured out how to move around the whole sleep
yeah,
thing.
so
Here you go, folks. I've just popped the link to our new YouTube channel into
Yeah.
chat. There is also the existing Bell of Lost Souls proper channel, which has all of the content from the actual website, unboxing videos, everything, but all of the live broadcasts and all of the edited content that we're now producing for you guys is going up on that new channel that I just shot you in chat.
yep. And hello to you too, Bloodbeard. No, you're
Hey, how are
probably
things at
really
the shop?
Talking.
Thanks
to
for tuning
somebody
in.
Else called Jen, not Abe.
Hey.
Hey.
It's a reroll.
So this is the Tyranid shooting phase now, and they are doing wounds to
You
things.
can reroll failed wound rolls with this one. So
With
those are,
both of his weapons, he can reroll failed.
well, those are to hit. So
Right. But I'm saying with both of his weapons, he can
yeah.
Wow.
Well, this is strength 3 instead of strength 7 or
7,
6.
6.
Yeah. So this is strength 3, so I need a 5. No.
Good. Glad to hear things are going well.
Awesome.
Okay. You cannot shoot. Tyrannifex.
Ooh, Tyrannifex
Going
is.
to shoot the Contemptor Dreadnought.
Ooh, shenanigans.
Alright, so ships and 4s.
We'll see how much contempt the Dreadnought has after this.
10 versus
The
8
joke.
or 7.
7.
7? Okay, so 3s.
Oof.
3 ones at -3.
All 3. Lots of ones. Not my day.
14 wounds.
Oh,
Hang on, let me count.
oh,
He might be okay.
oh.
Hey, speaking of that, I have Overwatched Gaskell before and killed him. With that Tyrannifex.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the Tyrannifex just finished off the Contemptor.
With contempt.
Yeah.
We'll do the Stinger Salvo into the Bloodletters.
Damn, no ones and twos.
Yeah.
Gearing up for Adepticon. Nice.
Yeah.
Whereas
Do we have crew members going to Adepticon this season?
Strength 5.
We do
it's
not.
top 5, right?
up 3.
Then ATC. What is ATC?
It's the American Team Championships.
No, mine
Ah,
is.
where's
No,
that
mine's
held?
one, sorry.
They only have one.
I'm not
series.
certain where the hell
It's
it
a 5 in bulk. So 2 brothers.
Bloodbeard, do let us know if anything exciting happens while you're up there. We don't have anybody going, so
is.
send
Thomas
us them
isn't going to
jeets.
Adepticon this year.
Does this have its own like wound characters?
Oh yeah.
Or does
And
it, does it
guns.
fire?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
It can shoot. It can fight in close combat.
Like one
Right.
a year because
Okay. I thought it was just the
they have one kiddo, they got another one on the way.
Yep.
It's not. Okay.
It's a
You have a booth
flyer,
at
booth
Adepticon. Oh, that's
15.
fantastic. Good for you.
It has a pistol that's
Hopefully you're nearby the
spider legs.
the I don't know if he still goes. But there's the great guy who did all the Battlestar Galactica miniatures and all that stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the Stormlord's
Hendy the Third, thank you for that follow. Welcome to the Belfry.
Would you get Hendy the second and first to join us too? That would be great. But welcome as well.
We need the whole family here.
Yeah.
I would rather not chance.
Oh, and here we've got so Cheese Stealers are charging an Obliterator.
Well, I wouldn't want to chance their charge. As much I can take out a chance.
Who are into the charge
You're gonna
phase?
block him out of a charge.
Chattanooga. That's where it's at.
Ah,
You mean this
Chattanooga.
guy or this
Tennessee,
guy?
that's not too far from us.
Do you do the choo choo?
because he can just like right here, right?
The Chattanooga Choo Choo.
There are some stunning views near Chattanooga. Keep
Okay.
on lookout now.
Charges. We'll do Gene Stealers into these guys.
All right.
We'll do Gene Stealers, High Tyrant, and Swarmlord into the Liberators.
Okay.
We're gonna do the Toxicrin into your commander right here.
Oh, you help run ATC. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard really good things about ATC. I have not gotten to go.
Okay, so.
It started after I kind of moved back from competitive playing and going around to tournaments. I've been to Adepticon several times, of course. But I have not made it to ATC. But we do have player. I mean, I do know people who go and play, and they all have a blast. So.
There's the yellow dice, that's why.
You need to stop using those lights.
All right, so we got some Overwatches here, but there is a lot of Tyranid charging going on. As you know, real surprising. I'm sure everyone's just shocked that the Tyranids are charging things again.
I'm really surprised they're not staying back to shoot. This is just so strange.
And then.
We might go in future years, but I believe we've got some previous engagements here in Austin that we've got to do when Adepticon is happening.
Oh, he's talking about ATC.
Oh,
I think.
ATC.
Yeah. We would
When is that?
Oh, okay.
Are you charging?
later in the year.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm not certain.
They're all up there.
Yeah, what are the dates for that?
He missed.
Definitely
Sorry, I should have
No,
clarified
no,
that.
something we'd love to do in the future is cover more events. So
Absolutely. So looking at when they are, and it's on July.
Yeah.
Not all of them will be able to attack yet.
So the Gene Stealers got a charge in up to the laser destroyer batteries up on the top on that roof there.
Okay. Let's do here to here.
Tentacle Beast is
What did you say it was called?
ATC.
Uh huh.
No?
Yeah,
He's bad
top of
Oh,
top of 2, correct. And the Tentacle Beast is charging the pet sitter, skull sitter.
Hive Tyrant into Obliterators.
Have Tyrant into the Obliterators.
So.
Actually, Gene Stealers.
That's
Oh.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
Gene Stealers first,
Gene
taking
Stealers-
taking that Overwatch.
But that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Smart move on
Okay,
Jonas's
so
part.
The gun is strength 9, AP -3, and 3 damage.
Oof,
That's
it's a good roll.
Pretty gross.
only if I can hit it.
Wounds.
Go back to yellows. Here we go. Ba-da. 1, and didn't, cause a little.
Oh,
Wait, strength 9 against.
Wah.
Oh, you need to.
Yeah, turns out 1 didn't.
Yeah.
Wham, 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 wham.
So do.
Still a good move by Jonas there. He wanted to make sure you get the Gene Stealers in first to soak up that Overwatch shot, which they did, even though the Overwatch
Yes, we are at
didn't
the top
do
of 2.
anything.
Swarmlord. Then. Hive Tyrant. That may not make it in. 4 inches. Oh, yeah. No.
Obliterators, I salute you.
And then the extra turn back. So no shooting right from the bullets. Alright.
All right, we got a lot of combat.
Is combat ability.
Gentlemen, you have 30 minutes.
So that's +1 strength. 6. Alright, so 1 for the tail. 2s. Strength 7 against tough 4, so 3s. Yeah, so that one. And then here's the swords. And 2s. And then 3s. So 3 wounds and -3.
Yellow dice.
So I think they're 3 damage apiece now.
Probably. They're all
It used to be G6. Yeah, they're 3 damage apiece. Do chalk screen here.
Cool.
Lashes.
That looks like it is all the obliterators. And yeah, he's gonna get. Oh, we've got Tentacle Beast here.
Strength 6 against tug of 4. So 3 wounds. So 2
You wanna
wounds.
go ahead and swap cameras real quickly?
One goes 3. Yeah, that's one.
He's a character, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do I'm gonna use my stratagem called Feeder Tendrils. I'm gonna burn a command point.
Sounds awful.
And I get the 3 command points back. So 3.
Because
So I get 2 command points.
6 is what you roll.
So yeah, it looks like the
Take
tentacles.
this man to Vegas.
You can see you can see the tentacles on the bottom left of your screen. It just ate up the skull petter, the pet soul, skull sitter,
Yeah.
pedestals. He got swallowed, and that gave Jonas a bunch of command points out of that. Because now that he's in his stomach watching over those skulls,
They are
Good.
more effective.
well, he can now
Are your chargers?
he can now spend more time on concentrating on the battle. He can use those command points for that. He doesn't have to worry about taking care of the skulls inside his stomach anymore. On the top of your screen, you can see what was the obliterators, just a bunch of nids on top of that now.
What is the toughness?
And let's go back out to the big shot now.
Let's put everything into.
So as you can see, we've got the mess of Gene Stealers trying to figure out what to attack in the
And then
between the laser destroyers and their crews and that whole meso things there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. This is one unit.
yeah.
This is one unit.
Right. So these 3 will attack this unit.
No. This is one unit.
Oh,
This is
he's
one.
the leftover from the other one.
Okay.
So there's 3. I don't know who designed that thing. Probably says it on the packaging somewhere.
So these 3.
I'm sure it's very warm in the belly of
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll do
of that
those 3
thing.
first against
Um,
the last couple guys.
Okay.
3s.
And then is anybody going against the Lord or?
No.
Okay.
And then strength
So,
4 against tough.
it's definitely I have to say, well, I don't play Tyranids. The newer big bug models are all really amazing.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
You don't often see the crazy tentacle beast, but he is
All that
great.
to Jonas. All 5 and 6.
3, 2.
I realized today that I'm getting old.
Why?
I think I'm officially old because last night I was contemplating how much money I could save by buying a washer and dryer of my own,
Oh, valid.
which feels like one of those, like, I'm old and settling down.
Just come over and use mine. Then
I
we
mean-
can hang out and watch anime.
Well, I have one. I rent.
Oh.
But I was like, I could
So
save
you
a lot.
wanted to buy it.
But I was like, yeah, instead of like renting it or using someone else's, like if I buy mine, I was like, over like 3 years I've been renting this, I could have just bought one. Like,
It's
save
very
money.
valid.
So.
It's a precarious balance.
Yeah.
Are you planning on moving anytime soon?
I don't know.
How many wins is
I mean, I just signed re-signed my lease for 9 months, so probably not
Yeah, it was
for a
actually
while.
The very first thing. So yeah, it's
That would be the only detriment is if you're planning on moving and then having to move
But-
washers and dryers.
Well,
is kind of a
You know, it's not so much that like you want to move, but it's you want to have the illusion that you could move,
That's
right?
valid, yeah.
And then once you're like, oh, I've got like a washer and dryer and all this furniture,
just
you're
like,
like,
I'm committed now.
you're like I can't move, like
This is my life now.
I can't move back to Japan like I did or stuff like that. You're like, what am I gonna do with my washer and dryer? I just spent all this money.
I'll fit in
on?
your suitcase. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, well, we already discussed if I can fit in your suitcase. I mean, you probably could fit in my suitcase, but.
Venkarel, thanks for that follow. Welcome to the
Hey,
Belfry.
thank you. Unfortunately, like the Japanese customs is a lot, not like the customs in Japan, but getting through customs in Japan is a little more intensive than like your road trips that I fit in the bag and just
That's
hide in
fair.
there.
That's fair.
They will be like, why are you smuggling a
Why
white?
do you have human in
Like-
your bag?
like, why are you smuggling a white girl into the country? And I'm like, I don't know. Like,
It's
I
my
wasn't.
fault. I
She
just
was in her
wanted to tag
bag.
along.
one guy.
5 on the horsey.
All right, so we are.
Come on, man. You pick up on 6 God.
We are in the still in the Tyranid combat phase, and as you might be able to hear, Jonas is rolling
Last
well.
Chuckle Chuckle.
Oh, is that the sergeant who didn't care?
Yeah.
Ah,
He's the toughest
There you
sergeant on a
go.
horse.
There you go. The horses are still alive, I'll point
right.
out, guys.
So this is the other group.
How I save those, I have no idea.
I almost Yahtzee in yours. I don't care.
I think Mike has one unit that's not in close combat. No, two. He's got a unit of cultists and the
3 technically, because I have a
actually.
Lord and
Oh.
Demon Prince.
Oh. and then you got the drop pod too, right?
2.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
4 units. All right. That's actually surprising.
Yeah.
Takes a wound.
A wound.
Still alive.
Yeah, the
They
Beast of
kill
Nurgle are
boss.
pretty great like that. They just
Whatever.
want to play.
All right, so now
Very short
mine.
memories,
Hold on,
don't
you
get
just-
sad.
Oh,
Yep.
And if they do get sad and very, very angry, they turn into flies.
Yep.
Aw.
Where's the claw? It's not single-minded domination.
That sounds like my puppy.
Oh, no. Okay. Never mind.
Did you think that they were gonna get to swing again? 'Cause
No,
it-
I was using, I was gonna use rapid regeneration, but I have to use that in my movement phase.
Oh.
So.
If you were gonna be like, they get to go again, I was like, no, we just
This is
in a fun game. I don't want to do that.
no, it's your comment.
That's valid. That's
I
valid
don't want to do
strats.
that, please.
At some point, you just
Don't
gotta
keep-
walk away, man.
Please don't keep
Please
stabbing
don't
me.
keep doing that. All right, so they're piling in. Should be most of them, may not be all of them.
You'll probably get all.
There's 3.
It's inch of an inch, right? So you get all those. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, you get them all in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although they are diminished. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. That's still diminished.
Yeah. That's what you had last time. Right?
Yep.
Just because most of
That's
them
great.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So 18,
So 18 times, how many attacks?
2 each,
2 each. So
plus the
36.
sergeant, so 37.
So, yeah, so 37.
So there's 24, 36, and one more dice after that.
You don't even want my green one?
Thanks. He rolled a 6. Hitting on 3s. Not rerolling anything.
You betrayed me, guys.
Your dice, yeah, you did. That's brutal. Dice
And here
is
come
hard.
the. This looks like it's the Bloodletters back against the Exocrine.
Right?
Trying to chop it up a little bit.
On 3s, right?
Yeah.
So 3, yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And then they are strength 5 right now because you charged.
So 5s, I think.
Gives you a tough
Tough 8.
How many wounds you got?
He's at full strength, so he's at 12.
12. I bet it was
Yeah, probably good.
12. Not like that. Oh, your dice.
See, it knows. It knows.
Four.
Oh, there's one more right there.
What in the world?
Five.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You needed 5s.
What
right?
world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4
The world of
for
Best
saves,
Coast pairings, trying to get the.
In what world?
Oh, actually.
I like how Jen's like, what in the world? And this is 40K, and there are literally millions of worlds it could
Minus
be
3,
in,
right?
Yeah.
and
Well,
none of us know.
The Best Coast pairings app made me
So this one is 2 damage.
reload it or maybe
So
update it,
5 total.
and it's not showing any events. Well, the prodigal son returns.
It's a wild Larry
free
Vela.
range, Larry.
Oh, Chris already came.
He's playing the tournament.
Okay.
Oh.
It is your turn, sir.
All right.
All right,
these
guys. That is the end of Nid turn 2.
Should be
and we are
1, 2,
on-
3, 4.
We're still doing his combat.
Oh, sorry. Never mind. That's all the Nid attacks on Nid turn 2.
Chaos still gets to attack.
I didn't know, okay?
And then the Sarge, so 9.
I was like, surely this turn can't still be happening.
Tough.
Surely the Nids have killed everything.
Top 3.
Okay, so 2, 4, 5 at -3.
But no, there's like important chaos characters that get to swing back that aren't currently digesting in Nid stomachs.
How do we want to do
Actually, I don't know. Do nids digest things in their stomachs, or do they just hold them in the stomach to take into like the pit of biomass?
B.
B.
I don't think they properly. I
Power
don't think
ups on the
snakes
sergeant.
have parts.
I mean,
rolling
no,
to the
snakes
Lord.
don't have hearts.
They eat it.
Box cutters.
Yeah.
They're jealous.
It's more of a
Oh!
holding cell.
They eat it and then they throw
One-
themselves into the
Into
digestion
the
pool.
digestion pool, right?
One at negative.
He's dead. Yeah, he's dead. They're gone.
More dead gaunts for y'all. I know that's why you come to this channel, is to see dead gaunts.
They
That's
can't
sad.
fail.
It,
so,
it's
okay,
like
9.
90% of our readership is just here to see dead
Yeah,
gaunts.
no, those are fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, we only killed, I only
Even
killed
the
the
dads
machine,
on
right?
Yeah. They,
Yeah.
and they got a swing.
And
So 2, 4, 6 of those. These are the guys.
it's broke off.
Oh, no, he didn't put it.
Oh,
So 2 regular saves.
oh wow, that guy was good.
So 5 open balls.
You got it?
Okay, and then the Lord
There's no cough. I knew that would be.
rolling.
We've got some.
We ordered coffee, but you weren't here.
Strength 4.
I mean, if there was coffee, it'd be like 4 hours old and cold.
You were the last one to get here. You could have brought us.
Yeah.
Now the thing I'm the most excited about. The Rapier's 2 attacks.
All right, guys, this is the rare time you get to see a rapier
I've never-
laser
literally
destroyer
not once
attack in
ever
combat.
have I done this, so I'm super stoked. He hits on 6s. Get ready for the pain. I got a 6
Oh!
Yeah.
and strength 3. So here we go. I need another one.
No.
So close.
He
So,
almost,
alright.
well, that rapier is as deadly in combat as he was at shooting.
That's true. Thank you for insulting me. Hurts. Okay, I put a bunch of moves on
He's
him.
proved himself well.
Okay, so we'll do Tide of Traders. Just make sure I remember.
So they're gonna be out of synapse. I need to do morale, but I'm gonna use the command points and just.
Auto pass. Okay.
All right.
And then
So we got some nice auto passing morale there.
I'm back to my original.
Set of command points.
Yeah.
I gained some. I figure.
From that eating, from all the noms.
So many noms.
Where is that guy going?
Try to get over there.
Absolutely not.
Is that the little bloodthirster that could? Or is that Demon Prince?
That's
That's a demon prince there, I think.
Okay.
Second edition.
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna be one of those, like, it's just like a bloodthirster on just like a
But he's
tiny
like
bit.
he's an epic bloodthirster.
He's dense. He's dense.
God.
He's dense.
He's real dense.
He's on an epic base that no one sees him coming. You're like, oh yeah, that's my like
Like
that's definitely kind of like the
It's my hero quest.
in
the
the
gargoyle.
modeling for advantage kind of thing where you're like, oh yeah, this tiny model you
Well,
haven't
that-
seen, like this Nurgling is actually my great and clean one, right? And you're like, oh, you just have been ignoring him, but no, I said at the beginning of the game he's my great and clean one. He gets 83 attacks. You're like, what?
Nice.
He's just on a really lame. He's just like one Nurgling on a huge
On a
base.
huge base.
Why is that
Uh,
Nurgling on a tiny base?
Damage, don't
It's like those sponge things you put in water and they get bigger.
Yeah.
I guess fine.
So guys, we've been joined by a rogue Larry.
That's me, Rogue Larry.
Rogue Larry.
Hello.
He's
Do you think you can fit through there?
that was one of the
Wrestling?
names that they originally debated using for the Star Wars movie Rogue One.
Was
Right.
Rogue
It was
Larry.
Rogue Larry,
Rogue Larry.
but
That
That was the
didn't.
code name?
It was the code
This
name.
is Rogue Larry, return to base.
Yeah, it just didn't work out
Actually,
though.
yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
understand.
I'm gonna be here. So he has to
All right,
go.
so we are finally on Chaos
I
turn
would love to
2,
get over there,
Yes,
but,
same as the gun.
and this is probably gonna be the last turn.
all right, so
So I think they've
moves.
got
Doesn't have
not
to
too much
move.
longer left.
Moves.
Gentlemen, you have 15 minutes.
There you go.
Title traders.
So we're tired of trading to get some
Finish your
objectives,
turn and that'll be it, yeah.
and they're gonna.
So 6 away and 9 away.
So we're tired of trading over to try to grab an objective. It looks like
Those cultists?
those are cultists.
Alright, here they come. Lots of cultists.
They're all there, but I don't think
They got the flag.
If you gotta
He's
have a
real
flag.
patriotic, that guy.
Ah.
Okay, so.
I love Cornlandia.
Charging.
They have a
Made it.
dark elf
This guy.
Kraken banner
They do,
from Fantasy.
which is
Those cultists have seen a lot.
they've seen a lot.
They've seen a
Yeah.
lot.
Pretty good.
Those
I
cultists.
think, I don't know,
Okay,
yeah.
so these
Got some nice
cultists
helmets
gonna
on them.
shoot on that.
You know, Cornlandia has a lot in common
15
with
15
Dark Elf
flashlights.
things.
15 flashlights, all the sixes.
They're
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
like
right.
Krieg troopers.
Yeah, they do
They're
look
like
kinda-
they're like Deathcore, but they're not
They're
Deathcore.
not
They're
Deathcore,
like
yeah.
Deathcore.
Yeah, I have seen people use like the Bellacore model for a Demon Prince. It definitely is smaller.
Hit on fours.
Yeah, he's little.
Yeah. So we're doing again the surprising amount of chaos shooting we've
There's
got.
not many.
You got enough to kill him. You only have four.
And then we're gonna.
75s,
Five.
sixes.
What's the strength?
3.
Oh,
Yep.
you need six.
It's a great model, but
2.
You did get two.
I saw one guy actually at a tournament a couple years ago who had.
Save 'em.
That's what he used for Bloodletters, is the Gargoyle / Demon Prince model.
Wow.
And he just had like 60 of them. Yeah, I don't know how you got 60 of them,
That's crazy.
but he had like 60 of them that were just those were his units, were those guys.
Like there's 59
so
people. There's
sixes,
like 59 people out there with copies of Hero Quest, being like, "Where's my
Gargoyle.
gargoyle?
Yeah.
My game is incomplete."
I mean, you know, maybe for all I know, he had one and cast a bunch or something like that.
Something weird.
Yeah, not
So
impossible.
either charging.
Or I don't know.
Ward
You can buy them
has
from China. Who knows
4
these
standing
days?
still, plus
That's
his
fair.
ward trait.
But all right, so we are getting into combat,
4
and
standing still.
the characters have charged, and they are going to try to wipe out those guys in the backfield. It looks like.
On these dots.
So again,
Oh,
I'll
actually,
point out that majority of what's died in Mike's army, aside from a couple of the obliterators and the dreadnought, is just a bunch of chaff mostly. So now the characters are actually getting into combat.
I mean, it is only turn 2, but there's a huge amount of models still left on this board.
There are.
There's just not.
We had 2 pretty big armies. I mean, Jonas had well over 100 models, and I think Mike also had well over 100 models in
Ugh.
both armies.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
But for all how big they were very expeditious with their movement.
We had good movement.
Like, the movement phase
Yeah.
were really quick.
There's a lot of just kind of, I'm moving this
Yeah.
pile of miniatures.
This horde is
8
moving
inches
this
forward.
way.
Yeah.
I love that he smashed
That
it
happens. That happens.
into
Killing
the
a
middle.
death core of
Yeah.
yeah, and I love the idea that he can't see him, so he's like, is it bad? Demon Prince. Hitting on 2s. Not reroll. All those hits, and then strength 7.
Yeah, I can see that. One of our guys who sometimes contributes to Dust and Stuff, Jay, he had an army. He had a demon army, right? That was all epic titans.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No. There's all kinds. You see
Yeah.
all kinds of really cool, funky, like hand-built, like custom armies.
Yeah, I
every
think
now
it
and
was Jay, but he bought all old titans. For
then. Oh,
epic.
yes, I know what you're talking
And
about.
was it a demon army that he used it for?
No, he was using
uncontested.
he was using
Now to be
um,
fair, I still got these guys.
Yeah. Well, within 3
he
inches though,
he
right?
collected a whole bunch of old epic knights.
I mean, I'm not
Knights,
saying
yeah.
He was using them as like Scutari. It was like an admech. unit.
Something like
It was
that,
a-
yeah.
It was like an allied admech unit.
I thought he used them as a demon army at one point.
He may have.
I don't know, but yeah, so he had a whole army that was all counts as, but it was all epic knights and titans and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And, like the warlord would be like a demon prince or something like that,
Yeah.
and then the reavers were like his
No, it's gonna be less,
something
yeah.
else, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's
So
gonna
Yeah, I've seen people do stuff like that with like Iron Warriors armies.
Iron Warriors,
where like my
definitely.
whole army is like servitor robots.
Yeah.
And they use
all
you use
epic
like
or something.
yeah like all your chaos cultists are epic knights and
Yeah.
all of your like your dread like your hell brutes are warlord titans or epic warlord titans.
Hitting on 3.
all right, so this is the big unit of bloodlusters. Bloodlusters
Same.
on kind of the top of your screen there against the Exocrine.
Yep, against the Exocrine, there's a huge amount of them, and they're
I'm gonna call it the Exo Queen.
Exoqueen.
Cause Queen.
I was like,
I don't know if there's 20 of them there. They may be getting the bonus, but there's a lot of them in
Is there
there.
-2? -3.
-3. Yep, -3 with the
Since they were 6s, it's 4 more.
the blood. I forget what they're called. The blood blades, basically.
yeah,
Gotcha. So 3 wounds left.
It's somehow
Almost dead,
alive.
yeah.
It's somehow alive. The Exocrine, it's
Alright, you wanna go with one of your guys?
didn't quite bring it down, everybody. Didn't quite bring it down.
so I was
I'm not sure how.
vaguely disappointed. Like medieval times apparently was getting a lot of flack for not having any. Like they were like, why are only women? Why can only women be princesses in your like pageantry and everything?
And they said because of Renaissance time.
No, so they replaced all their kings with queens.
Sweet.
Which is great, but I was a little disappointed when I was reading that they weren't like all drag queens because I thought that would have
Oh, that
been
would've
like
been great.
really hilarious. But they're like medieval times only has queens now, and I was like, oh, and I'm like, all right, like that's fair. It's all
That
like,
is a show I would go see.
right. I mean, that's how you
I
put
wanna
up your
s- I
show.
wanna-
You want pageantry and fanfare
exactly.
and playing
I
to the
wanna
crowd?
see
Queens.
I want to see drag queens joust.
And then 1, 2,
Think of
3,
it.
4, 5, 6,
Just think of it.
We broke
It would
Jen.
be savage. People would die. That is serious business.
Like-
Drag queens do not play.
Like you'd have all the big armor with little slits, but the hair would still be coming out of it.
and the hair would be like
you'd know.
so high. Oh
So,
man.
definitely.
Oh, I need this.
nah. He can't. I mean, I might kill like ag eye.
Really though, I can't. I think that there would be rules banning that because
Alright.
it would just be so savage.
Those gaunts are getting whittled down, but you can see that combat there in the bottom center of our screen that used to be very huge with a bajillion models.
So all those gaunts, so all the gaunts are out. We have successfully propelled.
That's all the big group of gaunts.
All right, so yeah, all that big group of gaunts is dead,
I mean, they were trapped in combat with bloodletters and a demon prince. So
and
not
a chaos lord, I think, in
not
there
a
too.
not a good place for gaunts to be.
Yeah. So that huge combat that took up so much of the center has been reduced to about 5, which is just a handful of models left.
Yeah, there's
This
about
is fine.
there's about half a dozen bloodletters left. The demon prince and then the lord on the jugger.
And there's the sergeant of the bikers is left in there too, hiding behind the lord.
He's tenacious.
He is. Well, there's got to be a horsey left at the end of the game.
That's right. But does the horse have a name?
Looking nice.
But
Curtains for the horses.
Jonas really doesn't want there to be
Maybe not. Maybe there's not a lot of good-looking wounds. Lots of hits.
4, 5. Oh, I hate when you take 5.
Okay, so
Does he have left?
You know,
He just failed one. Just failed one.
I
what
really,
do you need, a 2?
I really think,
Failed 2, didn't you? Yeah.
I think all
God.
gaunts go to. If heaven is the spawning, is the biomass pit, that's probably true.
All right.
But now I just have a vision of of them remaking the movie with all gaunts instead of
I'm
dogs.
gonna get.
Unless you want to try to do another turn in 4 minutes.
How much time do we have?
Just about a few minutes.
You had until 1:15. It is now 1:08, so you have about 7 minutes.
That would be 3. That would be. That would be.
minutes each.
That would
3
be
minutes
playing
each.
by intent, skipping a lot of stuff. You'd have to just do whatever the 3 minutes worth of the most priority stuff that you think matters on your turn. It's your discretion.
I don't think we can do it. I mean, I can get over here and contest this. You're gonna get that one. You're gonna get that one. I'm gonna get this one.
I mean, it's 2 minutes and 50 seconds now.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think we can do it. But
Okay, cool. All right, well.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. That is it. We got the handshake, guys.
Yeah.
So wait, so 2.
Let's score it all up and see how we ended up.
Yeah.
You definitely got kill more.
Yeah. I also have line breaker. Because I have the gene sealers over there
Yeah.
and the gaunts over here.
Yeah.
So that's 6
So they're just totaling up the points now.
We're gonna see how we ended up
I
here.
killed 1. You killed 1 and killed more. I hold 1. You hold 1. You
2.
hold more.
Yeah.
They're separate.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you definitely got it, but I got Linebreaker. I did not get Warlord. You didn't get Warlord.
Which is surprising.
That's how Warlords are hiding back there. Okay, so my count, it's going to be 5 to 2, 4, 6, 8.
Jonas, did you get behind enemy lines? You have behind enemy lines, right?
Yes.
Did you
Yeah.
get that?
Yeah, I have 2 models, or 2 units.
So that's 1 point there.
Yep.
So 8 because of those, right? And then behind enemy lines was 1.
And
Oh,
then
that's a separate one in addition to the Linebreaker?
yep, it's a separate objective he has also, because he has the behind enemy of line secondary.
That's 1 point, right?
That's 1 point for that, and then you killed a character, right?
I did kill a character.
So that's 1 point for
Or a
that.
hunter.
So that would be
2
10 then?
extras for that?
So 10.
Instead of 8?
Yeah.
Probably 10, and then
That was
Mike.
an awesome game.
Dude, that was crazy.
Mike, you
That was a
killed.
really good
Did you
game.
get any points for Reaper?
Oh man, I don't even remember what I picked.
You picked. You
Whirlwind,
had.
what happened?
You had
Reaper.
old school, Kingslayer, and Reaper.
Okay, so yeah, I got a point for that because that's a 30-man model. or 30-man unit.
So that's
That
2
was a
points.
30-man unit.
I
That was
got
the
2
only.
points,
Yeah.
That was the only 30-man unit you wiped out completely.
and I didn't wipe out anybody else.
Nobody else.
Or smaller units.
But
No
that was 2
other-
points for that.
There's 2 points for
Yeah, this is
that.
the only one that counted, so I get 2 points for that.
Yep.
And then who was what character did you pick as the Kingslayer?
The Swarm Lord.
And did you do any damage to it?
No.
Look, he's still alive. That's all I did.
We're not judging. We're just asking.
Well, you get points for damaging it too.
Yeah, no. He
So-
didn't.
Oh, actually, that's true. I apologize.
Yeah, no.
Thank you for trying.
I'm trying.
We're trying to help you out here, man.
Okay, so how many points was it total for Mike?
I think that I got 7 to 10.
To 10.
Is that right?
That sounded right.
Very nice. Nicely done.
Nicely done.
So that's a much closer game. That's a
That
close
was
game.
a really interesting game to watch.
Yeah.
Jonas, congratulations.
Thank you.
Fast.
And again, as I
He
point
just
out,
started playing 40k with 8th edition.
When did you just start playing? Like how long? have you
Like
been
right when
playing?
8th edition dropped.
So you've been playing like 8 months.
I got my first box that I got was the Swarm box
Sweet.
from GW.
So what do you
And
think?
oh man, I love it.
You like it?
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
How many tournaments have you played in now?
This will be my second.
That's fantastic.
That's
I
awesome.
did a doubles tournament and then Roundless.
We love to see
That is amazing.
Always
Well
love it. New
done.
players.
This is
I like that
actually
you
my
hate yellow, so that's awesome.
Never even. I thought this was Wormholders.
Just shows you,
Oh
you
wait,
know,
this isn't the Magic
some-
the Gathering
some-
tournament? Oh, my bad.
sometimes it's beauty before age.
I like again that we had 2 assault armies and we had no fighting in the middle of the board.
That's what I'm here for.
Larry showing some beard bias.
No, that was
Yes.
actually a really fun game.
That was a very interesting game to watch as well.
Oh man, they're just so fast. They come across that table and it's like, well.
I got
So
a
do you
really
think if there had
good-
been an additional turn that the game would have ended differently? Or do you think that that's kind of the lay of the game?
You know, I mean, definitely, I think it probably, this is the kind of game that ends up turning into a very one-sided match after if another couple turn time go by.
Sure.
Both players still had most of their big killy characters left.
And there were some really hot dice happening.
There were some good dice left. So, I mean, a lot of the chaff got winnowed out in those 2 turns. This is definitely the point where you'll see like things in an ITC game where only going 2 turns is going to hurt them because they're going to, even though Jonas won, the game didn't go on long enough for him to get as many points as
I see.
other players might get. So, maximum points you could score in in this game is like 12.
They're real fast, man.
I think you can max out at around 36 points
Oh, wow.
per round or per battle per game.
When they're cracking, I get an advantage.
So even though Jonas did real well and won the game, a 10-point victory is not a huge victory for an ITC.
Sure, that
So
makes sense.
it depends on if other players were able to finish more rounds or not. So that's really the biggest. When you're looking at it like as a big tournament perspective, it's not necessarily that playing more rounds would have allowed a different person to win the game. It possibly could have. Mike was really just getting some of his big beefy characters into combat on that last round, and as you saw, they cleared out those gaunts pretty well. But it's definitely the case of
Hey, do you want jalapeno?
of when those big characters is the longer games score more just by nature of because you score round by round.
That makes sense.
And that has a big effect on the overall standings you're going to have in a tournament. So being able to finish more turns in this style
We got it on
of
the
tournament.
screen.
Yeah.
That
Oh
broke.
no, that broke like right. He bought
I
that
literally
Like, for no
pulled it
reason.
out and it popped.
for the very first.
Turn that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I am, yeah.
You'd be like, come on.
No, he bought that right now, and first time he opened it up, it popped
It lasted
off.
like it lasted
Yeah.
one
The
minute.
game before this, I broke my old one. So I was like, oh, right, I forgot I need to get a new one. So I
Don't
went
buy
over
a
and got
card
it.
of it.
All right, your
Don't buy a
new
car.
your new
Don't buy a
tournament
car.
name shall be Ruler's Bane. Your new
Ruler's
tournament
Bane,
name shall be
yeah.
Ruler's Bane.
It goes on your shirt.
But like not the cool kind of ruler, like
But no one will know.
yeah.
Yeah, they won't know,
exactly.
and so it'll have the
Yeah.
mystique.
All right, so yeah, that's our round 1 game. I think we're gonna go ahead and cut it here for right now.
Take a
Yeah,
break.
we've got
Yeah.
usually about an hour worth of a lunch break.
We're
and
starting
then-
at 2 for the next round.
Yeah,
Right.
so we will be
So
back. We
we'll
have
most
two.
likely be live between 2 and 2:15, just depending on when the players get in here and start to get set up.
Yeah. So everyone who is watching, thanks so much. We are going to be back. You guys go and get lunch, hang
Yep.
out. We're going to be back with rounds 2 and 3 of the tournament all rest of the day.
Yeah.
So
So
have a great one.
tune
And
back
we'll
in,
see you
and
later.
thanks Jonas and Mike for an awesome game.
Thank you both.
Yeah, that was amazing.